Everybody, good to be here. It is Friday, and we are freaking rocking and rolling.
Welcome to the Ferocious Optimist
Podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun today, I'm sure. Send it off a little music, a little festivities, get the party going.
Welcome to the Ferocious Optimist Podcast.
I'm ready to rock and roll. We've got a great show today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, okay? If you saw the thumbnail, man, the more and more I dig into this stuff, the more and more I come up with. It is like never ending. I'm just telling you. So welcome. I am Ben Pappas. I'm your host. Welcome to Ben Pappas Show, or the Ferocious Optimist Podcast, as I like to call it. And it is awesome to be here with you guys today. If you don't know my background, I'm a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. I served in Force Recon, served in the Marine Raiders, was a Marine Raider Battalion Commander. Also served as an accredited diplomat overseas. Served in the Joint Interagency as well too during my military career. And so come at you guys from a lot of different angles, but this is definitely a leadership channel. And the things that we look at and discuss, we really analyze, current events, geopolitical events, breaking news stories, and we put that leadership lens, executive decision-making, analysis, strategy, mindset, identity, characteristic traits, things like that, things we can use, lessons we can learn to put into our own lives. Again, the motto of this podcast is to upgrade your life. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let me know where you guys are watching from tonight. I definitely want to see that. And tonight, we are going to be talking about accountability, courage, and the architecture of institutional truth, okay? And in this case, institutional cover-up, the exact opposite, all right? So if you took a look at our thumbnail there, secret organizations, secret everything all around, okay? And that's what we were looking at, these secret agencies. Are there secret agencies? So that's why we have the question there. So we're going to take a look at that and talk about that, okay? And before we do, I'm going to get into some of the shout outs here in a minute, but I'm going to walk you through exactly what tonight's show is going to look like, okay? So let me walk you guys through, get things arranged here really quickly. Welcome. All right, so here's the deal, okay? Tonight, we're analyzing a massive breakdown in institutional accountability. And in our first segment, we're going to talk about that. I just want to make sure you guys can see me okay, can hear me. No problems. I'm checking the chat right now. All right. And we'll get to our shout outs here in a minute. You guys are shouting each other out, which is awesome. But we're going to analyze a massive breakdown in institutional accountability. We're going to look at our buddy, Mr. David Grusch, again, former U.S. intelligence officer, Air Force intelligence officer. We're going to look at him. Okay. And that will be in our Act 1. So if you weren't here on Wednesday, or if you haven't been keeping up with my videos, that's going to be really cool. Okay, you're going to get a lot out of that. I know you will. But so that is going to be Act 1, and you can see on the screen right here, David Grusch and the illegal shadow programs hiding from Congress. Okay, and then shortly thereafter, we're going to be running a full leadership, during that, we're going to run a full leadership and legal profile on David Grusch. We're looking past the sensational hearings to expose exactly how siloed factions are within the intelligence community using unacknowledged special access programs to bypass the National Security Act of 1947. Okay, why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem because it's illegal, okay, and taxpayer money is being used, and you're going to see he came out with a new interview recently where he discusses these things even more, okay? I think he got interviewed 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to give you the actual statute of the National Security Act of 1947 and just what it means, how is it illegal, because there's no congressional oversight. And this is your money, your tax dollars, going into something that really none of us know about, okay? So we're going to talk about that actual legal framework. And again, this isn't conspiracy theory. That's not what this is. It's a federal violation, okay? That's where we're going with this, and that's why it really matters. That distinction matters, okay? Then we're going to shift to a massive breaking update, which I haven't brought up yet. It's not even in the thumbnail. Unless you read the description, you don't even know this is coming, okay? The massive breaking update, and I mean breaking, big, okay? This happened just a few hours ago, all right? And put this up on the screen really quickly so you guys can see this. And it's right here. Trump's $1.8 billion IRS settlement is temporarily blocked. Okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if you've heard about this $1.8 billion settlement. Okay? I want to see, if you guys have heard about this $1.8 billion settlement, go ahead and put that in just give me a 1. Give me a 1 in the chat. Okay? I want to make sure that, I want to see where we're at with what we know on this. Okay? Yeah, exactly. I see Brian Plummer out there, taxation without representation. Some crazy stuff, man. And I'm going to break that to you guys right here. Again, that's going to be in Act 2. So if you're new here, welcome. Like, subscribe, and share, please. And welcome to the best chat in YouTube. We're going to get into our celebrations for our chat here in a minute because it truly is the best chat in YouTube, which you'll see. Stick around for a little bit. You'll have a great time. Okay? So we're going to talk about that next. What does that consist of? Well, U.S. District Judge Aloni Brinkma just blocked the implementation of Trump's $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund. Yes, I kid you not, it is 1776, $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund. So we're going to break down the legal fallout, the governance crisis buried inside the settlement terms, and what tonight's ruling actually means. Not just for this case, okay? Because there's a lot, but for every leader watching who thinks accountability is optional when you're powerful enough. This is a big leadership segment, okay? We're not going into the politics of it so much, but actually the practice of what happens when your people merely perceive that you're doing something outside of the law. Even if it's not. If the vast majority of people perceive that this isn't right, doesn't pass the sniff test, I'm telling you what, you're going to be dead meat as a leader, okay? Next, the decompression. Act 3, we're going to close out our night like we always do on Fridays. If you're new here, Friday night is a good time. Okay, we touch on some tough stuff. We deep dive, analyze leadership, analysis, executive decision making. We look at current events. Tonight we're not touching on the war, but normally we'll deep dive into the Iran war as well. We're not going there right now. I'm waiting for some more things to develop before I go back in because I just don't know what the hell's going to happen there. Honestly, I still think we're trending towards war, but there's a whole other story. Okay. But we'll shift gears in our final segment. In Act 3, just for you, if you're new here, everybody else knows, Act 3, Leadership Lessons of the Absurd, which really means Leadership Lessons of South Park for all of you that have been here for a while. Okay? So it's going to be a great time. When accountability completely collapses, this is why we do it. The comedy writes itself. We're pulling master leadership lessons out of lots of things throughout the entire night tonight, okay? But we're going to poke some fun at some pretty obvious things through South Park, through other political satire skits, and we'll have a great time, okay? So let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and get right into the briefing room. If you haven't written yet, if you haven't shown me yet where you are calling from, where you're watching from, throw that in the chat right now, okay? And before we get into it, I'm going to give my shout-outs here. But put in the chat where you guys are calling in from tonight, where you're watching from tonight, so we know. The other night we had a pretty good international audience as well, which is always interesting. But let's go ahead and give our shout-outs right now. All right, Lisa, what's going on? Good to have you. You're on here early. It's awesome. Mark, what's happening? Lady Ann, how you doing? Drew, or D-Stu? D-Stu. Good to have you. Let's see who else we got here. SRP Valkyrie, of course, in here. We got Lady Aharts, D-Lady Aharts, Lady Ann, Freedom Sherry. Good to have you. Brian Plummer is here. Good to see you, man. Good to have you here. Helter Zeltzer, you're back. Awesome. I got a lot of good things to say with the hype tracks. Stoned Actual, good to have you. The Diamond Dog, man, you're up in here. Awesome. Great to have you here. That's right. Welcome to the Ferocious Optimist podcast. Nick is up in here. Helter Zeltzer. Jason's here. What's going on, Jason? Good to have you. We got Jason, Freedom Sherry, Brian Plummer. Let me see who else. Scrolling down. We got Gordon. What's going on, Gordon? Good to have you. Again, Stoned Actual. Let me scroll on down. Joe Saunders, GPKIA, man. Good to have you, brother. Glad you made it in. Great to have you. Let's see. We keep on going down. Unsecure Signal is here. All right. And I think we got everybody. So we've got someone from Central Time. We got France in here. Alexandria, Virginia's here. Colombia, SRP Valkyrie. Let me see who else we got. California. We've got, in the U.S., it is 5:40 Pacific Time. Let's see who else we got in here. Awesome. I see you guys. A lot of ones. You heard all about this whole thing with this anti-weaponization fund. Okay, cool. Let's get it going, guys. Let's get this thing going. Big round of applause right now for the best chat in YouTube. We got to celebrate it. Big round of applause. Get it going. Fire it up. We're about to get started. Let's get it going right now. All right. Here we go, guys. So, our poll is up as well. Okay, our poll is there. If you haven't voted in our poll yet, go ahead and get inside the poll and vote. Okay, we're going to walk through this poll really fast and see what we have. If you haven't seen the poll, here's what we have so far. 20 votes. How much do you trust the institutions you operate within right now? Total trust, 0. Cautious trust, 15%. Skeptical trust, 45%. Zero trust, 40%. So skeptical trust is a 45%, the strongest one so far. And it's okay if you decide to vote total trust. That is no problem. That is your prerogative, and no one will know who you are because it's anonymous. So go ahead and tell us what you think. Put it in there, and let's get it rolling. Okay. So David Grusch profile, identity under pressure. Okay. On Wednesday, we did a deep dive on the psychological profile and identity profile, who he believes he is, of David Grusch. We talked about this, right? It was kind of off the cuff, wasn't formalized. If you missed it, this is a quick 60-second version, okay? He's a U.S. Air Force major, but also a reservist who rose to the rank of GS-15. Afghanistan veteran. He has a physics degree from the University of Pittsburgh, which I didn't know. Senior intelligence officer, National Reconnaissance Office, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. And from 2019 to 2021, his flashpoint role was the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, official representative to the UAP task force. Okay? In other words, this is not a guy who saw something weird in the sky one night and started a podcast. This is a credentialed, decorated, highly awarded, clearance-holding intelligence professional who went through every proper channel before he ever said a word publicly. And that matters, okay? The big thing we took away on Wednesday, the kind of, the signal here, the real takeaway, is that his identity under pressure was really what determined his behavior, okay? It determined his behavior predictability, not just a job title, not just his rank, but who he thought he was. And I would call him like the white knight. He's the white knight archetype, okay? Archetype. Here's what made his story exceptional to me as a leader. Grusch entered the intelligence apparatus as what I call a white knight archetype. He genuinely believed, not naively, but foundationally, okay, that the machinery of governance still served the rule of law, that the oath meant something. His oath meant something, that the Constitution wasn't just a decoration on the wall, okay? It was the actual operating framework of how power gets exercised. Okay, let's watch this video really fast because we're going to get into it deep in here about David Grusch. Okay, and as always, I'm ready for your questions. Put them in there. Joe Saunders, I'm ready for you. Let's watch this first one first, okay, just to get an idea. Again, we're talking about how illegal cover-ups occur within the U.S. government, okay? Specifically, our title tonight is how illegal shadow programs hide from Congress, okay? How illegal shadow programs hide from Congress. That is our title for tonight. And then shadow agencies, ? That is our thumbnail title tonight. So we're going to bridge the gap on this. But let's watch this really quickly because this is important. The fact that Grusch and the other whistleblowers believed that their lives were in danger. They were uncovering something so significant and so threatening to the U.S. government. But then beyond the U.S. government, we talked about this, the money source, right? The threat of the money energy industry, okay? And you're going to see tonight, I'm going to bridge the gap here. I'm going to show you how actually the Atomic Energy Agency and the Department of Energy actually are involved, okay? And you're going to see this is going to get deeper and deeper. Guys, I could go all weekend, 3 hours a night for all weekend on this, okay? And I don't think we'll hit the bottom. We'll just catch up to speed on what's going on. So let's watch this right now. Here we go.
As stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly.
All right, we got that one. Now, I want you guys to see this because I'm trying to set the stage here for what we're going to go into, okay? Because this is truth is stranger than fiction. In this case, truth is stranger than fiction. Okay, this is a great video from a guy called UAP Gerb. Okay, he is a intense, amazing, deep, detailed researcher on the UAP programs and does some great work. We're just going to watch the intro here, but just to show you how far back this goes, okay? And again, our purpose is not about UAPs, UFOs. Well, it is kind of, okay? But it's really, as I said before, we're looking at the leadership failures, leadership best practices, decision-making, executive decision-making, how things get covered up. How did we get to this point where we have a constitutional crisis? How do we get to this point where we don't trust our leadership? How do we get to this point, maybe in your maybe in your corporation, your company, your team, okay? Something that's important to you, you can ask yourself, how did I get to this point? What's the architecture of secrecy? What's the architecture of building trust? Where does leadership failure happen? Okay, so let's watch. Here we go.
The propulsion of these UFOs is unique. Their ability to hover, their ability to accelerate very rapidly, their ability to move at very high speeds, very much higher than anything that we have achieved even with our supersonic aircraft. All of these things, and particularly interestingly, without sonic booms and the things that we don't like about our supersonic aircraft, all of these things indicate a type of propulsion which is unique, different than anything we know anything about, and which would be of tremendous value if we could develop it and use it.
Okay, Northrop Grumman, right? Big defense contractor. Defense contractor, one of the big ones. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman saying, if we could develop it, okay, why would you talk about these things if there wasn't a possibility that it existed, okay? So I'm going to touch on another little piece here. I believe is from Lockheed Martin. Okay. Let me see right here.
Intelligence, but also BDM International board member at the time, 1989. To this day, Northrop Grumman maintains a major corporate presence in Tyson Corner near the former BDM headquarters.
Tyson's
All of
Corner,
this
Virginia.
commentary on TRW, Teledyne Ryan, which we will get to shortly, and BDM serve to highlight how Northrop Grumman and its many acquisitions interweave intimately with...
Okay, my point isn't to deep dive exactly where all this is right now. My point here is to show you that people are starting to connect the dots. Independent investigative journalists are connecting the dots. Investigators are connecting the dots because of people like David Grusch. Okay, again, we're going to do an anatomy here of a leadership profile on David Grusch, but I want to first of all give you some supporting documentation, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit more on the National Security Act of 1947 here in a minute, okay? But the thing is that, you know, Grusch really believed in everything he was representing. He believed in his oath. He believed in being a whistleblower. He believed in, you know, that white knight archetype, and he wasn't about to fall into some nonsense that was being done that looked like it would jeopardize his oath and jeopardize what he believed. Again, identity. For all of you out there, okay, your takeaway right now is, again, I cover it on my seminars on Saturdays. I cover it in my coaching program, okay? The link is in my bio if you want to be a part of that. I'd love you to be there, okay? But we talk about identity because Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, all right? One of the most powerful forces in the human condition is the need to stay consistent with the way we see ourselves, okay? When you think the pain of doing something, okay, you think the pain of, let's say, quitting. Pain of quitting is greater than the pain of staying in it because of the identity. Because losing your identity will be the most painful to you, then you do it. This is the situation David Grusch was in, okay? And so when all this was happening, and I'm going to back this up a little bit more, here's the National Security Act, 1947. All right, I'm going to walk into that in a minute. Let's watch one more thing here from him, from David Grusch. Okay. Here it is right here. Check this out. David Grusch just gave his most detailed interview. Here's what he actually said. Okay? He has even said that his life is on the line right now. He feels threatened. He feels, he's being attacked. He still has all these things going on, okay? I want to tell you that he hit the wall, okay? With all this happening, he hit the wall back then. He's still having to have such moral courage to do what he's doing right now, okay? All right, we're going to take a quick pause. We got Joe Saunders up in here. Joe, thank you, brother. Let me see here. Joe Saunders, start it off. Let's get your question. And we'll jump right in. We'll jump right back in. Let me get in here. Okay, Joe. Let me reply to you real quick. And then we got to do all our formalities. All right, Joe. Haven't we already had shadowy agencies? Haven't we always had shadowy agencies? Before the CIA and NSA, we had the OSS. Then before that, the COI, the ONI, the MID. Only the FBI had persisted to present day. Just saying. I'm going to make sure I read that right. We have, but I think what happened is it's a great point. You actually, Joe, you're making my point for me. Okay, I'll read it one more time. What Joe said, but before I answer it, we got to give Joe Saunders a big round of applause, really fast. Here we go. Big round of applause for Joe Saunders, everybody. Okay. All right. So what I want to say is this to Joe, to answer your question, the one thing that changed everything right there, and Joe has a great question. This changed everything right here because Joe brings up a great point. And his point he's making is that hasn't it always been that way? Well, in many ways it has, right? But the CIA was really committed created on the heels of the OSS, okay? Before the CIA, we had and the NSA, we had the OSS. Then before that, we had the COI, the ONI, the MID. Okay, only the FBI's persisted. But I want to say this is the difference right here. In 1947, we had the National Security Act of 1947 created. Why? Because of what you're saying, Joe. We had shadowy organizations, okay? And what happened is the Title 50, War and National Defense. Under Title 50, National Security Act of 1947, Congressional Oversight Provisions. Section 309, Paragraph A, reports to congressional committees of intelligence activities and anticipated activities. The President shall ensure that the congressional intelligence committees are kept fully and currently informed. I'm going to say that again, fully, okay, and currently. That sounds like court. Do you agree to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? So help you God. This is what is said. These are legally binding information. This is verbiage, legally binding wording. Kept fully and currently informed. That doesn't mean be late, okay? You shine a light on all the corners of intelligence activities of the United States, including any significant anticipated intelligence activity. Oh, maybe like UAP, UFO. Maybe like collections of extraterrestrials and non-human intelligence. Maybe, collections, as you'll see later. I'm going to put up an interview here with David Grusch. He talks about the DIA having in its collection operations doing reports on black holes, event horizons, propulsion systems for outer space, all this stuff like that, okay? Now, these weren't briefed. These were all just kind of special access, brushed aside, not really reported on, okay? But clearly there's something there of interest to the DOD, to the Department of War, including any significant anticipated intelligence activities required by this subchapter, okay? Nothing in this subchapter shall be construed as requiring the approval of congressional intelligence committees as a condition precedent to the initiation of any significant anticipated intelligence activity. So that means the executive branch under the president can do what it needs to do. They just have to brief Congress. Congress has to know about it, okay? And Joe, I'm going to answer your question with this interview too, okay? I'm going to put an interview up here right now with David Grusch that I think will answer some of the things that you're asking about, okay? Like, let me see, right here. Okay, let me just take a look at this real quick and make sure it's the right one. Okay. Okay, here we go. Ready? So why did they have that? They had it to prevent things like this. Okay, so everybody listen to this really fast.
The cognizance of who was kind of leading the program changed over time epochs. The genesis was in the Truman and Eisenhower National Security Council and the CIA Office of Policy Strategy back when
Did you guys hear that? The genesis was in the Truman and Eisenhower National Security Council. I'll play it one more time. We talked about this on Monday, I think it was, or last Friday.
The program changed over time epochs. The genesis was in the Truman and Eisenhower National Security Council and the CIA Office of Policy Strategy back when that was the old name for I think the Director of Operations now, I believe, is what they call it, the CIA. But the Atomic Energy Commission was involved, the Department of Defense at the time, service elements, the CIA at the time, and other cabinet level agencies you would not think, but helped with the illicit financing.
Housing and urban development.
Hey, you never know.
I know. HUD's a good place to hide things, so no one's ever.
Well, I think there's the actual Deputy Housing and Urban Development Secretary under H.W. Bush, Catherine Austin Fitts, actually has talked about her finding illicit funding over in that budget. It's funny you say that, but that
you heard what he's saying. He's saying even in housing and urban development, they found illicit funding streams going towards black programs. Okay, he's going to walk the dog about in this part here about illicit funding streams from the global war on terror when we had OCO funds, okay, overseas contingency operation funds, and he was saying how this is the time frame during the global war on terror when all of these programs started getting pushed underneath defense contractors and out of congressional oversight, out of the intelligence agencies. And obviously, I think for years before that, decades before that, they were held by academic institutions like Los Alamos, research laboratories, things like that. But the funding programs actually started getting swept under the rug as well, too, more and more. I think probably a lot of it from the lack of oversight during the war when everything became OCO. They were trying to get money for the overseas contingency operations and just doing things that way. Okay. Let's listen a little bit more right here.
Actually seems to be the case.
I've heard about automation programs being buried somewhere in housing and urban development, so nothing would surprise me. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, and so this is the part he's going to talk about the global war on terror and how all of a sudden, a lot of stuff got moved under.
No, certainly, and obviously there's cover providers, as we say in the business, for activities, so you'd be very surprised how that rolled out. But essentially, as the global war on terror initiated in the early 2000s, a lot of that stuff got moved to the big defense contractors and certain subsidiaries to exempt it from FOIA, but also congressional oversight. So around the 2004 timeframe, based on individuals I know that have firsthand knowledge, a lot of the funding that they were siphoning, and I can't name the pot of money because that's classified, a lot of it got diverted for overseas contingency operations.
So he's saying they're funding off money right there. Okay. And so Joe, to go back to your question really fast for everybody, to go back to Joe's question. Okay. When I brought this up, right. So answering Joe's question, weren't there always shadowy organizations? Well, here it is. Congressional oversight provisions, reports to congressional committees of intelligence activities and anticipated activities. This is new, put into law, right? So it's illegal. It's a federal offense if you don't do this. It's federally illegal, okay? And so reports concerning illegal intelligence activities. The president shall ensure that any illegal intelligence activity is reported promptly to congressional intelligence committees. Procedures for reporting information, procedures to protect from unauthorized disclosure, construction of authority conferred, intelligence activities defined. As used in this section, the term intelligence activities includes covert actions as defined in section 3093 of this title. It includes financial intelligence activities as well, okay? So there are all these things in there, okay, that were not there prior to 1947, okay? They weren't U.S. code. There wasn't this procedure. So all of a sudden, we cut to around the global war on terror, what David Grusch is saying here, okay? He's saying that this stuff got swept under the rug. All right, to exempt it from FOIA. I'm going to play this part one more time. Okay, here it is. Essentially, as the global war on terror initiated in early 2000, a lot of that stuff got moved.
Essentially, as the global war on terror initiated in the early 2000s, a lot of that stuff got moved to the big defense contractors and certain subsidiaries to exempt it from FOIA,
Sure.
But also congressional oversight. So around the 2004 timeframe, based on individuals I know that have firsthand knowledge, a lot of the funding that they were siphoning, and I can't name the pot of money because that's classified, a lot of it got diverted for overseas contingency operations for the global war on terror. And so more creative financing mechanisms ensued, and it really became a more contractor operated and conducted activity with very little government oversight. There's certainly people still briefed to those programs. I certainly know who currently is in access in the government, at least, partial access.
So the only thing here I would say too, going back into what Joe's question was, all right, and it fits right in with what we're covering tonight, is that this is really, doing a workaround. They're trying to work around the law, right? Previously, before the 1947 Act, okay, which, they said a lot of these things came about during the Truman and Eisenhower administration, okay, which when I played my last live stream, the Eisenhower speech about warning about the defense industrial complex, okay, defense military industrial complex, which we don't know if that had something to do with recovered craft or whatever, but compartmentalization, giving too much power to defense contractors, swaying the political process, all those things like that, okay? And so this is the architecture of secrecy. And this is also, I want to say, not just secrecy, because secrecy can still be legal, right? As long as certain people are briefed, oversight committees are briefed. This is the architecture of illegal, illicit funding, illegal, illicit intelligence activities, all those things. They had a shadow hand, right? A shadow agency, secret shadow agencies being built, being set up, and an actual routine and bureaucracy in order to operate this way. Where, like we said last time, in the culture that's being built, people learn not to ask questions, okay? So let's keep on going on this, all right? So around that time, when he's discovering all these things, when he goes to the UAP task force, Grusch hits the wall, okay? This is where it gets really hard for him. He found programs running completely outside of congressional oversight, as he just said. Dark funding, unaccountable special access programs. What he later described as, and I love this phrase, jaded, cynical doublespeak, because we've all seen that. We've all been there for that type of stuff, okay? We've all seen, places where it was shaded, it was doublespeak, okay? I'm going to pull this up real quick, this article on him, and we'll share this one instead, okay? Okay. So if you've ever worked inside a large institution or organization, you know exactly what that sounds like, okay? You've heard of it, probably in a conference room, probably from someone with a very expensive suit, okay? This jaded doublespeak. So the institution's standard playbook when it finds a Grusch, like a person like a Grusch, is leverage. He's the white knight. Okay, just get him to shut up. Get him to shut up in the row, okay? Get him to shut up and paint. Your promotion track, that's leverage. Your pension, your clearance, your reputation. We've talked about this over the past few weeks. Again, the moral courage it took for him to do what he's done and continues to do is quite a bit, okay? At this point, he's all in. He can't go back. He can't ever work there again. But you're going to find out more as we look at this that he was actually, they filed illegal complaints against him, and they fabricated things within the Air Force. It's nuts. Someone was very vindictive and wanted to burn him, all right? So you've heard this stuff, you've seen this stuff, and they want to attack your reputation, your clearance, your pension. They want to threaten you with these things. The calculation they want you to make is simple. Is this worth my career? And for most people, and I really mean most people, okay, they make the safe choice. They go quiet. They get their pension. They play golf, okay? But Grusch refused to make that calculation, okay? Here's the big thing, the big takeaway here. True moral authority breaks the system's leverage, okay? By refusing to value career advancement over foundational principles. Again, his identity, okay? His self-belief system, his self-confidence, self-trust. And again, I work on this with my clients. We work on this in my coaching membership, okay, in my inner circle as well. But how do you build self-trust and self-confidence? You keep doing small things, keeping small promises to yourself every day. You keep taking steps forward. Every action you take that's in alignment with your values and the person you want to become is a vote for that future identity. Clearly, Grusch was all in and found it to be more painful and harder to just go along to get along, keep quiet, and play golf. Okay, as we said, play golf, than it was to step up and say, I don't want to be a part of this. Because guess what? Here's the real thing. There's more to it than that. Okay. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right. Because this is the distinction I want you to sit with. An executive climber, they optimize for self-preservation. Okay. They learn unspoken rules very fast. Okay. And they optimize for this. They learn the unspoken rules. They figure out who to make happy and who to avoid, frankly, okay? They build a very comfortable career, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but there is if you're faced with something that wants you to be complicit in something illicit, illegal, and that tarnishes your reputation, okay? And they become completely predictable to the people above them. That's what they do. They have a very comfortable, very safe, they play it safe, which is exactly what the system wants. Safely irrelevant, okay? That's what happens. Now, a leader, a real one, their identity is incompatible with the rot of complicity. They can't do it. Not because they're reckless, not because they want to blow things up, not because who they are will not, it's because not, but who they are, it's because of who they are, the identity will not allow them to go along to get along. It will not allow them to look in the mirror and play along. And when your identity is that locked up in, the institution literally cannot control you. That's the most powerful piece of leadership armor there is. Oh boy, Ruby. Woo! Ruby, thank you so much. I won't be able to watch tonight's live, but I wanted to hop on and show some support. Have a great weekend, Ben. The best chat on YouTube. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Ruby. Everyone, big round of applause. Ruby, stay for the quick formalities and celebration. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It means a lot. Everyone, big round of applause for Ruby, a friend of the Ferocious Optimist Ben Pappas channel, for sure. Hold on. We got to do the celebration. Big celebration right now. Thank you, Ruby. Appreciate your support. It means a lot. Really appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you. All right, everyone. Clap it up for Ruby. Absolutely awesome. Keeping the channel rolling. Keeping us motivated. Thank you so much. Woo! All right. We keep that up. We might play some music. Get up the dance club up in here. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Give me a 1 in the chat. I want to jump back into the chat with you guys. Give me a 1 in the chat if you have experienced pressure like this. Maybe it's not like Dave Grusch level because you're not whistleblowing on, freaking aliens, all right? But give me a 1 in the chat if you've experienced some kind of pressure, some, influence, negative influence, leadership, toxic leadership, trying to get you to be quiet, trying to get you just to go along with it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't question. That's just the way we do it. And you're like, that doesn't seem right. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've experienced that before. And if you haven't, give me a 0, okay? And if you want to tell us about it in the chat, tell us about it in the chat so we can all learn together and grow, okay? Because that's some crazy stuff. I see that, Zach. Hey, Zach, what's going on, man? Good to have you. Matt, what's going on? Good to have you. Pumpkin, what's going on? Good to have you here. Yeah, Joe has had it. Zach's had it. Matt's had it. Yep, Brian Plummer's had it. Wow, work for Chevron. Okay. Alvy's had it. Freedom Sherry's had it. Lisa's had it. Pumpkin, everyone's had it. Everyone's had it, okay? Absolutely crazy. Sometimes this works, so let's see if this will unfreeze it. Let me see here if it's unfrozen. It appears to be unfrozen, but if it's not, we'll do it again. We'll do the trick again. Still frozen? Let me know. Frozen again. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do it right now, Mark. 1 second, guys. We will unfreeze it. Okay, it looks like I'm back. It looks like I'm back. All right. Give me a 1 if I'm back. If you guys can see me, give me a 1. I think I'm back. Better? Okay. Awesome. Matt, good. No, I froze. I should be back now, though. Okay, awesome. Now no audio? Not frozen. Okay. Audio is good? Audio is good? Okay. All right, you guys tell me if anything's messed up. All right, let's rock and roll. Let's keep going. I'm going to look in the chat. Okay, can't tell. Bot can't tell. Audio is down. Audio is down. Very strange right now. I don't know what's going on, guys. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can fix it. 5x5? Okay, now it's... Okay, good now. Got it, Mark. Okay, I'm listening to you. Mark, you might just become the moderator in here. Plus law enforcement. He knows. It's like he knows you're bad or good. It's like Santa Claus. He's going to take you out, man. Who better for the moderator? Mark's like, look, briefed you ahead of time. This is what you're allowed to do if you get outside. I'm going to put it on you, man. Taser comes out. Boom, down on the ground. All right, let's rock and roll. Of course not taser. Come on, Ben. You're getting too crazy in here. Okay. So, again, David Grusch, right? And we talked about that organization. If you ever knew something was wrong and you had to stay silent, what did it cost you, though? Put that in the chat as well, too. Like, what did it cost you? Maybe you felt really uncomfortable. Maybe you didn't feel psychologically safe at work. Do you know I teach this to organizations, to companies? Psychological safety is one of the most important things, okay? It's one of the most important things in someone staying with a job, okay? And I got some good doozies. Stay with me to the end. If you haven't been here before, the third act is going to be awesome. I'm going to get these up on here. So if you're new here, you see Act 1, David Grusch and the illegal shadow programs hiding from Congress. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. Act 2, look at your screen, is Trump's $1.8 billion IRS settlement temporarily blocked. Thank God. Honestly, it's nuts. Okay, and we're going to talk about the whole you can't investigate his family or his enterprises thing too. I don't know, man. I think it's crazy. To me, it is. Act 3, leadership lessons of the absurd, also known as the leadership lessons of South Park. We're going to get this thing going. All right, let's keep rock and roll. I got a lot to talk about with this David Grusch, and then we got to get on to what is going on with that $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Okay? All right. Segment 1B, the next part, shadow agencies, the legal framework, and why this is an actual federal crime. I want to take a minute here because this is where most people covering this topic get it completely wrong. We talked about it a little bit already, the National Security Act of 1947. Because I need you to understand why what Grusch is exposing is not conspiracy theory. People are so focused on the aliens, the UAP. Okay, great. But if they turn out to be Chinese technology, Russian technology, American technology, or something like that, fine. What the real deal is, though, it's a federal freaking violation, federal legal violation. These are very different things, okay? Under Title V of the National Security Act of 1947, I had it up on here already for you. I'll put it up again in a minute. Specifically, 50 U.S.C. 3091, the executive branch is legally mandated to keep the congressional intelligence committees fully and currently informed of all intelligence activities. It's not a suggestion. It's not a norm. That is the law. Okay, I'll put it up here one more time in case you missed it on the last one when I was answering Joe's question. Okay, let's get this up here one more time. And this isn't the same. This is the one I want. Okay, so this is what we talked about when Joe was asking his question before. General congressional oversight provisions, war and national defense. Okay, a big thing right here. Title 50, war and national security, national defense. Number 1, 3091, reports to congressional committees of intelligence activities and anticipated activities. Okay, we talked about this. This is what mandates it by law. All right. So there's something called an unacknowledged special access program. Okay. It makes it particularly significant because it's in the National Security Act. But even for unacknowledged special access programs, these are the most classified of the classified programs that exist. The law still requires notification of what is called the Gang of 8. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of the Gang of 8 before. Actually, I'm going to pull something up on the Gang of 8 right now because the law still requires that the Gang of 8, I'm going to put it up right now. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. We're doing on-the-fly research. Okay. There it is, the Gang of 8, Wikipedia. Right here. I'm going to pull this up real quick for you guys. Because Wikipedia always knows. All right, Gang of 8, intelligence. The Gang of 8 is a colloquial term for a set of leaders, 8 leaders within the United States Congress who are, according to law, briefed on classified intelligence matters by the executive branch. Specifically, the Gang of 8 leaders includes leaders of each of the 2 parties from both the Senate and the House of Representatives, bipartisan, and the chairs and ranking minority members of both the Senate Committee and the House Committee for Intelligence. Under normal conditions, the President of the United States is required by Title 50 U.S.C. 3091 to ensure that the Congressional Intelligence Committees are kept fully and currently informed of the intelligence activities of the United States, including any significant anticipated intelligence activity as required by law, okay? By blah. However, under extraordinary circumstances, when the president thinks it is essential to limit access, notice extraordinary circumstances ordered by the president, meaning the president knows about it, right? Okay? When the president thinks it's essential to limit access to the information about a covert action, 50 U.S.C. 3093, okay, allows the president to limit reporting. This isn't the case for this UAP. This is not the case, okay? In fact, we talked about this the other day. We talked about this testimony that went into Congress about the Unacknowledged Special Access Program, Immaculate Constellation. The executive branch has been managing UAP NHI issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time. Sounds criminal. Why would they do that? Well, what's the usual motivation? How about greed? How about money? It's always the same. Follow the money trail, right? Who would do this? Government contractors, energy titans, right? All these things we talked about on Wednesday, on Monday, on last Friday, okay? All the energy titans, okay? Quite possibly it's been like this for a decade. This criminal conspiracy keeps the elected government of the United States and its citizens, you and me, ignorant to profound discoveries and dire threats originating from the existence of UAP, NHI, and their technologies. Not to mention, it's freaking not fair for competition, okay? Think of the small dog contractor, technology company. Can't compete with these people who have NHI, right? Can't compete. Joe Saunders, you got a question, man? Let's hit it. Joe Saunders, thank you, brother. Let me give you a quick round of applause. Everyone, round of applause for Joe Saunders. Big round of applause, Joe Saunders. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your support, man. It means a lot. Everybody give a round of applause to Joe Saunders, a friend of the Ben Pappas channel and a friend of the Ferocious Optimist podcast. You're appreciated, sir. All right, let's get into the question. Okay, let me give you a thank you. All right, let's see here. Military, hate to say, and corporate culture, to get along, play along. Yup, read promotions and career. 3, there are folks that flex on that, just saying. No, you're 100% right, Joe. You're 100% right. If you guys didn't read what Joe is saying there. He's got a really good piece of wisdom. Military, hate to say, and corporate culture, to get along, play along. Read promotions and career. There are folks that flex on that, just saying. Joe, you're so right. You're 100% right. Unfortunately, that is the way it is a lot of the times, okay? The only thing, and I'm going to say, you're right about that, but what I want to say is this, okay? What I want to say is if you, in some of these cases, if you go along to get along, in the case like what Grusch has, right, it's not borderline maybe legal, maybe illegal. It was clearly illegal, okay? He's making himself an accessory to it, if I can use that legal term, okay? He's making himself a party to it. He's a party to the cover-up. Now he's in the good old boys club, right? He's in, okay? He's, he might find out more and more. They'll let him in the gang because now he's officially lied and covered it up. Said, I didn't find anything. I don't know anything. Okay, so that's the danger. A lot of the times in the military and in other government places, it might be something like, well, this is like, out of the norm. It's not illegal. It's not against the UCMJ, but it's just like bad practice. It's slimy. It's underhanded. It's duplicitous, okay? But is it illegal? Was it a lawful order? Many of the times it was. You know what I mean? This is clearly illegal. And if any of you guys don't agree with me, let me know. But if you think it's illegal, give me a 1 in the chat, okay? Because all my research here and violating the National Security Act, this is clearly a federal offense, okay? So give me a 1 in the chat if you guys are tracking with me on that right there, and you see how this is illegal. Okay, and Joe, does that answer your question? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so when Grusch is describing programs deliberately hiding under government programs, okay, programs deliberately hiding, under government contractors, okay, this is a real problem. Under shell companies, operating under unacknowledged defense contracts, pocketing what amounts to misappropriated taxpayer funds, and completely freezing out Congress. We're not talking about a bureaucratic oversight here, okay? We're not talking about a technicality. We're not talking about blurring the lines a little bit, right? Like, you'd see, like we talked about, some screwy things like, in the military we might see. And there are definitely people who do full-out illegal things. They lie, they cheat, they steal. They They break the law. You break the UCMJ, and then you're usually screwed. If you get caught, you're dead meat with the UCMJ, okay? But this isn't even close. We're talking about a direct violation of federal law in this case with this UAP UFO cover-up. That is an operational and constitutional crisis, okay? Now, I want to be very clear about this because I've worked, in the interagency. I have colleagues and close friends in the CIA, and these are some of the most deeply patriotic, ethical, and capable people I've ever met in my life, okay? In the intelligence agencies, they fully believe in their mission to serve our country. I don't like the broad things that say, like, the government's all bad. Well, no, they're not. You know what I mean? It's like saying all the military is bad. No, it's not, okay? The men and women of the intelligence community to keep this country safe every single day in ways the public will fully never know, okay? And they definitely deserve respect. Now, but there are some secret, sneaky squirrels out there too, as we know, okay? The CIA as an institution is not the villain in this story. The intelligence community as a whole is not the villain in this story, right? What Grusch is exposing here is something far more specific. Okay, let me go into this a little more. So what he's exposing here is something much more specific, all right? And I'm going to talk about this a little bit. So he's really talking about the legal mechanics of concealment, the institutional response to his whistleblowing, and the specific obstacles standing between the current administration and disclosure, okay? Legal mechanics of concealment, all right? None of these resolve the fundamental evidentiary question, right? Are UAPs real? Are ours non-human intelligence? Are there aliens? We don't know, okay? They can verify that another way. What we're really talking about here are the legal mechanics of concealment, of breaking the law, of a federal violation for the cover-up, misappropriated funds, all those things like that, okay? And if you don't know this, Grusch reveals that the Department of the Air Force filed an unauthorized disclosure complaint against him under the Espionage Act. Can you imagine? They put him under the Espionage Act. Some heavy penalties under that act. Shortly after his public statements in June 2023. The complaint was denied, okay? Grusch states he obtained pre-publication clearance from the Defense Department, the Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review, for every public statement he'd made about UAPs and crash retrievals. He's since filed a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act lawsuit in the Eastern District of Virginia to obtain the records associated with the complaint. The case, Grusch versus the United States Department of Defense, is on the federal docket. This is significance. The significance here is structural. If a whistleblower's public statements were pre-cleared by the Responsible Security Review Office, and he was already cleared, okay, let's get this straight, he was already cleared, and an Espionage Act complaint was filed anyway, this is crucial, okay? The complaint functions not as a legal instrument. This wasn't meant to, we caught him, let's do something. Pay attention, okay? This is all about freedom, baby. This is all about freedom of speech. This is all about, tyranny and bullshit we can't stand, okay? The complaint functions not as a legal instrument, but as a deterrent signal, okay? It's a threat to prevent others from speaking up. It has what we call a chilling effect. The chilling effect makes people get cold feet to stand up with courage and to speak up, okay? They're showing them, everyone else who's a whistleblower, well, yeah, you do this, you're going to pay the price. There's a cost to you being a whistleblower. Even if he went through the proper channels looked at his case and said, yeah, sounds like you got a real case. Go for it. They said do it, okay? It's not like Edward Snowden, he flew away to Russia and revealed everything, right? It's not like these people run away and they write a book without any oversight. He went through the process. The Pentagon said, yeah, do it. You got a real case here. Okay, go for it. And by the way, it's not really even about the Pentagon. It's more about secret parts of the CIA and the intelligence community hiding things with government contractors. So what the hell's going on, right? Something's going on. Something sneakier. That's why the title for my thumbnail is Shadow Agencies, okay? This is a deterrent signal, a demonstration to anyone else considering public disclosure that the institutional response will be punitive regardless of procedural compliance. Grusch says that the complaint was denied because of the legal preparatory work that he did. The implication is that a less legally sophisticated whistleblower would not have survived it, okay? And then there's a whole thing with the Atomic Energy Act problem, okay? It goes in the Atomic Energy Act of 1954, which actually puts the president as an arbiter and not in charge, for solving things like that. Okay? There's a lot here. I strongly, if you want to see this, truthistrangerthanfiction.org covers, this is the readout from this interview that we've watched, but we're going to watch a little bit more of this right now. Okay, here we go.
About the certain activity, but the particulars, it's not a free-for-all. It's not.
And that's what I found. Yeah, on this issue is there's the FMA, FME, Foreign Material Exploitation and Acquisition Program as it relates to the UAP subject was a...
Okay, guys, if you heard what he said right there, I want to make sure we point this out. But he just said, okay, I'll rewind it really quick. There we go. The FME, Foreign Material Acquisition and Exploitation, okay, Act of UAP UFO material. So there's already consideration legally for what to do with this.
Foreign Material Exploitation and Acquisition Program as it relates to the UAP subject was essentially hidden in plain sight, which is a tradecraft technique. Right. And so you'll get a placemat chart on a certain black program. Oh, it does this. Well, that's
okay. So a placemat chart on a certain black program so that they can act like, well, we didn't hide it from you. It's there. Hidden in plain sight is a tradecraft technique that he's revealing right now. Okay. You've heard this before. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard the term hidden in plain sight. Okay. If you've heard the term hidden in plain sight, put a 1 in the chat. Okay. I want to hear what you say. Awesome. Let me see what you guys have. If you heard that term, hidden in plain sight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you're new here, welcome to the best chat in YouTube. We're going to fire it up real quick for the chat because we got the best chat in YouTube right now. Everyone, round of applause for yourselves, damn it. Welcome. We got a fantastic chat in here, okay? Everybody who comes in here says it's the best chat. Some might say it's the best chat in the world, taking a page out of Donald Trump's book. But that's what everybody says. They come here and say it's the coolest chat, smartest chat, most intelligent chat, okay? I learned things from the chat, too. A lot of great info comes up in there. So welcome aboard. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you think somebody's going to get something out of this, go ahead and share it with them, okay? So I see a lot of ones out there. Okay, a lot of ones, yeah. Hidden in plain sight, right? Let's watch a little bit more of this with David Grusch. And again, tonight's agenda, if you weren't here for the beginning, Act 1 is David Grusch, UAP whistleblower, and the illegal shadow programs hiding from Congress. Act 2, then, we are going to get into Trump's $1.8 billion IRS settlement, which has been temporarily blocked, and also discuss the fact that the IRS has said that we will no longer ever investigate anyone in the Trump family or the Trump enterprises. Never be audited again. How can you say that? I don't understand that. That's absolutely crazy as a settlement deal. That's like saying, okay, you killed someone, and now the next time you get a settlement saying that we can never investigate you for murder again, right? Or we wrongfully investigated you for murder this time, but we can never investigate you for murder again. You can do whatever you want. That's a little crazy. And Act 3, leadership lessons of the absurd, which are the leadership lessons of South Park. So if you haven't been here with us for that one, I strongly suggest you stick around to the end. It's going to be a great time. All right. And let's keep on rolling here and watch a little bit more of this interview.
It's the day job, and there's other off-books activities that it does. And I was on programs.
So you heard what he's saying. He's saying that the day job is what the placemat on the organizational chart was for the Black Book program, okay? That's its day job. But by night, it does other things. Illicit activities, hidden programs, unacknowledged special access, UFO, UAP in this case.
A placemat chart on a certain black program. Oh, it does this. Well, that's the day job, and there's other off-books activities that it does. And I was on programs where we had off-books activities we were not briefing to ODNI when I worked for a particular intelligence agency I can't acknowledge, my relationship with. And I thought that was, immoral, but once again, I'm just the peon. But even normal day-to-day stuff, whether it be covert actions and other things that I've seen in my career, we've hidden off-books activities from leadership, let alone in the subject of my infamy.
And so this is the point where we enter into whistleblower land.
Yeah.
And the whistleblower is a
the next video he has right here, okay? And walk through some parts of this interview.
IG right. And the intelligence communities, we know the right code words, and we know which reported special access programs and controlled access programs were essentially covering it up in performing financial fraud.
There it is, performing financial fraud, covering it up. He's showing this is what happened. Illicit, illegal activities. So to me, yes, UFO, UAP, very cool, important stuff. But even more importantly, okay, I think we found this whole thing because it's interesting and scary. UFO, UAP. What the hell else are they hiding? What other secret black book programs are going on, like J. Edgar Hoover's FBI, like the old CIA assassination programs that we didn't know about, that maybe even the president didn't know about, okay? What else is going on, okay, that the people don't know about? Now, the people don't need to know everything, right? We need to trust in our classification system. But stuff like this that could be world-changing, could impact their daily lives, that the president doesn't even know about, okay? Again, the only time they're allowed to not brief Congress, the oversight, is when the president and his team, the president himself, decides we don't need to report on this for a little while, okay, because of very sensitive for a covert action program, okay? But the president doesn't even know. That's why he's like, release the files, okay? So there's a lot to consider here. Let's watch a little bit more. But again, what else? And give me a 1 in the chat, guys, if you think for sure this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you think this is just the tip of the iceberg of the unacknowledged special access programs that we're going to start revealing more and more, I hate to say it, but almost like draining the swamp, put a 1 in the chat, okay? Put a 1 in the chat. 1 in the chat if you think this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because and honestly, I didn't even really think of it before until I'm talking to you guys and I'm connecting the dots myself as I say these things. Freedom says 1. Brian says 1. Joe Saunders. Hey, what's going on, Phoenix? Good to have you. Matt Burns says 1. Lisa says 1. The Diamond Dog says 1. Joe Saunders, 1. Absolutely. Let's see who else is saying a 1 in there. Mark says 1. Pumpkin says 1. Lady Ann says 1. Yep, just the tip of the iceberg, I think, too, guys. I think there's a lot. Let's see who's voted in our chat already. 36 votes. How much do you trust the institutions you operate within right now? Total trust is 0%. Cautious trust, 17%. Skeptical trust, 44%. Means you keep your eye open, right? And then zero trust, 39%. Okay, skeptical trust seems to be where we are. Everybody seems to be falling within the trust but verify section, which is good. Zach says 1. Brian Plummer, keep our eyes open and tools of war ready. Yep. Let me see. GOP, GoPre, been swamp draining since 2016. Everyone needs to stop acting like a newbie. Well, this is a whole new level of swamp draining, my friend. Right here, unacknowledged special access programs. I just think there's going to be a whole lot more coming out. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And the reason why we're finding out is because investigative journalists have been tracking this because it's a world-changing event. It's world-changing technology. It's energy-changing technology. Not even talking about the NHI, non-human intelligence, aliens. If it's there, it's there, right? I mean, if it's real, it's real. But how they're able to hide all this stuff and what else are they hiding? Where else is the fraud, waste, and abuse? Where else is the misappropriation of funds? Who remembers the damn Minnesota fraud? All the fraud we're discovering lately. Billions of dollars just wasted. We're like in debt so much right now in this country. We've got affordability is through the roof. Things, real problems, right? And yet we're finding more and more fraud and grift and waste and abuse and misappropriation of fund. Oh, black book program taken from here. Like, what the frick is going on? And honestly, I'm not on a script right now. This is like, I'm like, what the frig is going on? I'm just thinking about this when I'm with you guys, thinking out loud. Okay? Honestly, this is the impact now I realize is more than even when I was forming the show, when I was putting together, the notes for tonight, putting together the videos we're going to watch and everything. It's pretty unbelievable, honestly. Crazy stuff. All right. Let's keep on rolling. Vote in the poll if you have not voted in the poll yet. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let's watch a little bit more of Mr. David Grusch here, who is talking about illicit funding and black book programs.
Which reported special access programs and controlled access programs were essentially covering it up in performing financial fraud to hide some of the paper trail, misappropriating funds, and then taking haircuts across other Black programs to funnel the money to those kind of activities to keep it off books.
So the essence of what you've talked about is that the federal government, in the form of DOD or somebody else, basically has recovered alien or otherworldly vehicles, let's put it that way, and not just vehicles or I guess vehicles is a word to use. They've recovered them, and there's also, I guess for lack of a better term, biologics. There's other entities associated with that. And you're investigating.
Skip ahead.
Yeah, and I try not to characterize origin. I use the term non-human intelligence because there's certainly a taxonomy of non-human intelligence. Even though, I'm a physics guy, I don't know if it's entirely extraterrestrial or something else that we quite don't understand. And so I leave that open for analysis because I never had full access.
Okay, and so the point of this, again, is not he's saying they have aliens. The point is the cover-up. The point that I want to make is the leadership cover-up, the leadership failure, the architecture of secrecy, the dissolution and destruction of truth, okay, the collapse of trust and the destruction of truth, trust, trust in leadership, trust in institutions, all these things. When you have the white knights like the Dave Grusches coming forward and saying, wait a second, you told me all this with these oaths and all these things, credibility assessments, you got to remember, he had to take several polygraphs to get his clearance. Lie detector tests, okay? How is he going to be able to take the next lie detector test? Because they're going to ask him a question, and they're going to say, have you ever swept intelligence material or a violation under the rug? Have you done things that don't make you credible? Okay, not giving away. I've had a polygraph before, okay? So I'll be honest with you, I usually don't talk about that, but, it's not comfortable. And you sit there, and they're going to ask him things to ferret out if he's credible to be trusted with this stuff. And so he knows they're also threatening him, threatening his livelihood, threatening what he said he'll uphold. They're trying to get him involved in their bullshit. He's got to say something. He can't not say something, okay? So in some ways, you could say that some of the architecture, some of the procedures, the best practices were put in place to force you to come forward to be a whistleblower. But I think it's more than that, okay? Because I think that they're all in cahoots together. Not all of them, but I think there could have been a pathway for him just to close his eyes and say, I can't be sure. He wouldn't be lying, but he could have revealed it probably during an intelligence interview and said, well, I may have come across this, but I don't know. And they closed the door on me. There's nothing I can do. And he could tell the truth about that. They closed the door on me. There's nothing I could do. And I think he'd be fine with his clearance, okay, honestly. So it can't just be that his credibility, his clearance would be threatened through his polygraphs, because he had to get routine polygraphs, okay? He reveals that in a little while in the interview. So it is about the cover-up, everybody. The cover-up, okay? Let's watch this a little bit, and then we're going to move on.
Access. But the contractors kind of have the con, so to speak, in the modern epoch, and that was done to essentially hide things and also allow contractors to do an IRAD, right, internal research and development, and then use private capital to fund a lot of those activities.
Okay, so guys, can you guys hear that, right? You heard that. This is using private contractors. I certainly know currently is in access in the government, at least, partial access. Contractors have the con, meaning they're in charge of the UAP UFO recovery, crash retrieval. Speak in modern epoch, and that was done essentially to hide things and also allow, I'm reading from the transcript right here, guys, to allow contractors to do IRAD, right? Internal research and development, and then use private capital to fund a lot of those activities, okay?
Right, internal research and development, and then use private capital to fund a lot of those activities since, the gravy train was drying up during the W. Bush administration, as far as I understand.
That is very interesting indeed. So,
okay, so some wild stuff right here, what we're talking about. I want to make sure that we've covered all the bases here, and we have not yet. Okay, so we're going to go talk a little bit more about this. Okay, so what Grusch is exposing is something that is far more specific than just who's the bad guy, right? The government, the CIA, all this stuff like that, right? Or the UFO UAP. It's more specific. It's more recognizable to anyone who has studied how power actually behaves inside large institutions. This is how it goes. This is a classic high-stakes leadership failure, okay? A tiny legacy faction operating in complete isolation. Joe had a good question earlier. Joe's question was, Joe, great question. I keep coming back to it. Haven't we always had sneaky organizations? Yes. Here's the point. A tiny legacy faction, okay? Actually, I learned this today, that when they recovered the Roswell crash stuff, they elected a group called the, I think they're called the Great 12, okay, or something like that. It's like the Great 12 or something like that. You guys can fact check me on ChatGPT. Put it in the chat, what you learn. But it's a group of premier physicists, scientists, people in the know and all this stuff, and leaders, okay, who will decide the fate of who gets to know about this and who doesn't. That's how sensitive they thought it was in the world, okay? I believe what I heard was that the version of Elon Musk of 1940s basically built them on a gas and oil platform, built a facility on a gas and oil platform out in the Gulf of Mexico or somewhere off the coast, off the East Coast, and they put these things there, okay, what they recovered, because they were worried they might infect the whole world with some disease they're carrying. No kidding, heard this, okay? I don't know if it's true. But my point being is not about the aliens and all that stuff like that. It is the architecture of secrecy, right? A tiny legacy faction. This is for your leaders out there, organizational development. How do you build a culture? Here we are. Operating in complete isolation inside unacknowledged special access programs. Legacy faction, like Joe said, it's always been there. Okay? New law comes, yeah, whatever. We just keep doing what we're doing. National Security Act 1947, boss, we can't do this anymore. Shut up, you're gone. Okay? Yeah, we're operating off the old rules. We don't pay attention to that. So Joe's question was really good. Operating in complete isolation inside unacknowledged special access programs, completely locked away from the legitimate chain of command, accountable to no one, funded through channels no one can trace. Okay? What he just said, they take a little bit off each one of these special black book programs, they siphon it off, they give each one a haircut, is what he said, and they fund this other unacknowledged special access program that is completely off the books. Okay? The illegal one. Completely locked away from the legitimate chain of command, accountable to no one, funded through channels no one can trace, and old enough, like we just said, it's old enough that the people running it may have genuinely convinced themselves that the secrecy itself became the mission. Okay? The secrecy itself became the mission because it's such an old group, been around for so long, especially passed down, secret squirrel, brotherhood, whatever you want to say, right? It's a good old boy network that they only specially select certain people, operating only passed down from people to people. I'm making this all up right now, but I'm imagining it, okay? So isolation, a key fact here, okay, for all my leaders out there, isolation without accountability doesn't protect an institution, okay? It creates a shadow organization inside of it, like Skunkworks, right? Skunkworks, people don't know what's going on inside there, what they're building. Someone has to know. I'm sure someone knew inside Boeing, right? That's not conspiracy. That's an organizational failure pattern with a very well-documented history. For example, if you got an organization or a team you're leading, we always would say in the Marine Corps, inspect what you expect. What you're expecting to happen, you better inspect it, or else guess what? It ain't going to happen, okay? I've seen versions of every level of institutional life. I've seen versions of this. A small team that stops reporting up the chain of command. A division that starts protecting its own budget above the organization's mission. A legacy program that outlives its original purpose but keeps running because the people inside it have no incentive to shut it down, okay? Burning company money. The scale here is extraordinary. The mechanism is not, okay? It's normal. It happens all the time. Why do you have certain traditions you have if they cost you time and money but don't get any results towards the mission? Think about it. Why do you personally have certain habits that you do that you don't even think about anymore? Like, I just do this. I've always done it. And it's costing you time, energy, and money. And maybe leadership capital too, okay? Maybe it's hurting your brand. This is what makes Grusch's testimony so operationally significant and so credible to anyone who actually understands how these structures work, okay? He's not describing a movie plot. He's describing an organizational pathology. And he's describing it with the precision of someone who spent years inside the architecture that was supposed to be providing oversight, okay? Shadow agencies, right, and thumbnail, This is the breakdown, not rumors, okay, not speculation, federal law, chain of command violations, and leadership failure pattern hiding inside the most classified program in U.S. history. That is the real deal, okay? So here's what's really interesting. Here's what's really interesting on this whole thing, okay? And I'm going to get in here in the chat in a minute and see what you guys have to say. But what's really interesting about this, and I'll tell you, is that very soon, in fact, on June 9th, David Grusch is going to be going back to the Capitol to do another hearing, another bipartisan level press conference on the steps of the United States Capitol, okay? Alongside Representative Burleson, Burchett, Luna, Moskowitz. The mission is an aggressive, unified push for UAP disclosure, okay? I want you to think about this because instead of disappearing, writing a memoir, getting a book deal, getting a movie deal, all the stuff we talked about, all right, maybe getting a next Netflix deal, a Netflix documentary, he showed back up on the Capitol steps. He's coming back again with a legislative agenda 12 days from tonight, okay? That's not the move of someone who just wanted attention. That's the move of someone whose identity is so locked down to the mission that the personal cost is almost beside the point, okay? Again, what I'll say in closing up with this is that true moral courage doesn't just dismantle a corrupt structure. It stays behind to provide the blueprint for the replacement, okay? It stays behind to actually form the next thing, to make sure the disclosure happens. So he's going all the way. He's definitely, flowing with it and going all the way, okay? So let me see and jump in the chat here, see what you guys got, because I think we really crushed this one. Any questions you guys have in here? Okay. Okay, I'm seeing there's a disturbance in the force in the chat there. I would never be a member of a club that would have me in it. Mark. All right, let's see here. Joe Saunders. Got it. Okay. Let's see here. Any questions? All right. Okay, so we beat that one up pretty good. I'm going to play one more quick video because we are in Benathon mode right now. I'm just not going to lie to you guys. Let's not lie. We're in Benathon mode. We're going full Benathon. Again, if you're new here, our Act 1 for tonight, David Grusch, the UFO whistleblower, UAP whistleblower, and the illegal shadow programs hiding from Congress. Second act is going to be Trump's $1.8 billion IRS settlement temporarily blocked, and also how the IRS will no longer be allowed to investigate his family. Pretty crazy. And Act 3, again, our leadership lessons of South Park and the absurd. It's a good time. If you're new here, welcome. Great to have you. Okay, like, subscribe, and share. Welcome to the best chat in YouTube. We're going to fire it up for the best chat in YouTube here in a minute. But before we do that, we're going to watch two more quick clips. Okay, guys, we're in full Benathon mode today, so strap in and get ready. Here we go. Nancy Mace, back at it.
So we will do that now. Every member up here has a copy of it. The first section talks about the Unacknowledged Special Access Program called Immaculate Constellation. And the second section about U.S.G. imagery intelligence. And Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list. Maybe a FISA warrant. So come at me, bro, I guess. But without objection, entered in the record. All right, so next we will introduce our witnesses for today's hearing. Thank you so much for being here. Our first witness is retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet. So the microphone is turned on. So that
this is the this is Tim Gallaudet, retired Rear Admiral. Going to hear really quickly from him, and then we'll move on. Okay.
Urgent safety of flight issue. Officer of U.S. Fleet by a 4-star admiral who at the time was also my superior officer. During this exercise, I received an email on Navy's secure network from the operations officer of U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The email was addressed to all the subordinate commanders, and the subject line read in all capital letters, urgent safety of flight issue. The text of the email was brief but alarming, with words to the effect, if any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having multiple near mid-air collisions, And if we do not resolve this soon, we are going to have to shut down the exercise. Attached.
Okay, so that was Gallaudet. We're gonna check this one out. This is David Grusch. Now this is a pretty good little clip right here. So if you can see your screen, check it out.
Screen, there it goes.
Prompted in part by the release of these videos, purporting to show encounters between American naval aviators and what the Pentagon has labeled unidentified aerial or anomalous phenomena. Congress has convened
so this is basically
hearings
why
to
David Grusch
determine
came out.
what
This is
these
when he came out a year
UAP
ago.
are and what threat they might pose.
If UAP do indeed represent a potential threat to our security, then the capabilities, systems, processes, and sources we use to observe, record, study, or analyze these phenomena need to be classified at appropriate levels.
The Department of Defense has established a special team, formerly known.
Okay.
And then.
All right, check this out.
Yourself that this is real.
Well, based on the credential people that came to me, some of these subjects provided me sensitive foreign intelligence to read, sensitive program documents and photographs to evaluate, and then described in very specific detail how all this worked. And they were telling me the exact, extremely specific details that it all checked out. Yeah.
You know, the thing I have trouble with, it's the fact that my experience as a journalist is it's very hard for governments to keep secrets. Most things leak.
Mm-hmm.
Your government leaks like a sieve.
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't this leaked?
Well, I've certainly been the recipient of a lot of U.S. government secrets, and I can tell you they've never seen the light of day. That's for sure. And I guess ostensibly.
But I guess, you know what's funny, him saying that? To me, what I think of is as he's saying, governments leak. Well, what is this, dummy? Isn't this a leak? I don't mean to say dummy. I like Ross Coulthard a lot, and I'm using his work, so thank you, sir. No, but isn't this a leak? This is a leak right now. David Grusch is leaking. All these other leaks. How did this happen? How do these whistleblowers come about? Because there's a leak. There's a leak right now, okay? That's why. This is a leak. Whistleblowers are leaks. They're not leaking. They all leak to the press. All of them leak to the press, to Jeremy Corbell, to Don Knapp, to all these journalists who came forward, pressured the government, and gave protections to guys like Dave Grusch through getting them on congressional hearings. Okay, so this is a leak to me. So let's keep listening for a minute.
This has leaked like a sieve for decades, but it was a very sophisticated disinformation campaign where they have allowed some of the truth to come out through some of their trade crafts. But they've disenfranchised people. They've stigmatized it. They made it like this total wacky thing to talk about. So anybody who may come forward with that kind of information is looked like a total tinfoil hat guy, because it's a perfect amalgamation of disinformation to just make it look crazy.
The best reason to believe Dave Grusch may be this document. Remember that whistleblower complaint he filed? It would seem it hasn't fallen on deaf ears.
So the Inspector General of the Intelligence Services of the United States has the information you've got.
Yes.
And more importantly, the Inspector General made a determination about the credibility of your complaint.
They found, after interviewing myself and the subjects and other.
Hey, this is really important, right? Like we talked about, he went through the right procedures. They cleared him to become a whistleblower and didn't say, no, you're a kook. Just go back. The Inspector General said, yeah, you got something here. Okay? So, and again, my biggest thing is this. They didn't say you got something here like, yeah, they're aliens, tell everybody. They said, no, you've got something here. There's something illegal going on. This is really what the whistleblowers are about, okay? Illegal, whatever. Definitely illegal is the number one thing, first of all. Okay, if you start saying they're aliens and they got them, and they might say, yeah, so okay, are they following the right channels for alien custody procedures? Yeah, they are? Well, then go pound sand and get out of here, okay? The real problem, again, is illegal, hidden, away from the president, away from Congress, misappropriation of funds, stealing, right? Fraud, all those things. Who knows if they're funding billions of dollars? Who knows? They're just lining their pockets with money.
They're subjects that I'm not even cognizant on who they were. They found my complaint urgent and credible for the intelligence committees.
The word credible is important.
Yes.
You appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So An official investigatory body of the United States government has determined that your allegations are credible.
Correct.
Coming up, if it is true.
Okay. So I wanted to cover that because I think that's very important. I think that's absolutely crucial, actually, that when we're looking at Grusch and we're looking at everything he's done, what he's gone through, the damage to his career, emotional damage, psychological damage, the threats, hardship, financial hardship, all those things, and to be vindicated by the IG, Inspector General, saying you have a real case here. Ross Coulthart, all these people getting on the congressional hearings, everyone starting to believe him, saying you're not a kook. He's like, I'm not a kook. I'm just telling you there's illegal stuff going on. It's illegal. So what I want to say is this. To some of you out there, and I know some of you in the chat even right now, and other people commented on the videos, that it's all an elaborate hoax. And that's okay. That's quite possible. But if it is an elaborate hoax, what the hell are they hiding? And it's not even so much what they're hiding. I think what they're hiding is embezzlement of funds. That's what I think they're hiding. Embezzling freaking funds. And I'm going to get to the damn bottom of it, I tell you, okay? Here on Ben Pappas Legal Watch. But I'm dead serious. We're going to get to the bottom. Because again, another eureka moment as I'm here in the best chat in YouTube, okay? In the best chat in YouTube, we figure things out together. Because if they're really hiding something, and it is a big hoax, they're like, yeah, keep doing this UFO thing. Cover up the funds we're stealing. Cover up this crazy program where there are 100 of us in this special Illuminati and we're just stealing from the government. Joe Saunders, yippee-ki-yay, brother. I see you in there. Big round of applause for Joe Saunders. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. I'm going to get to your question in 1 second. But before we do that, we're going to do a round of applause. Joe Saunders, make those clap emojis. Fire it up. Give me ones. Give me fire symbols. Give me clapping in there. Wake up YouTube. Let them know we're friggin' here. It's Friday night. Get it fired up. Let's go. Joe Saunders got a question. Okay, I agree. We get something that sounds juicy, but if they have what? If they have that, what are they holding back? Sounds like a tease. Just saying, hey man, I'm with you, Joe. Because guess what? It might very well be a hoax completely. And would I be disappointed? Yes, I would. I want to see some friggin' UFOs flying around. Not the damn UFO from Nope. Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen the UFO from Nope. If you've seen the movie Nope, put a 1 in the chat. That friggin' UFO can go right back to its own galaxy and never come here. It's an animal swooping people up and eating them and all this stuff. No thanks. We want, okay, two things, real quick. I got to come up full camera here. We want no World War Z zombies. None. We take Walking Dead zombies every time, right? Tell me if you agree. No World War Z zombies. Walking Dead zombies are okay. Not a problem. We want these type of UAPs, UFOs flying around, putting on little shows. No UFO, UAP from Nope, from the movie Nope, okay? I'm just saying. Have you seen Nope? No way, man. Nope. You seen Nope? Nope. I don't want that damn UFO around. Some crazy-ass stuff. All right. Joe Saunders, you are completely right. I agree with you, man. We are seeing eye to eye on that. Because what are they hiding? And is it something worse or even better? Not even better, but yeah, Mark, you said it. Money is the root of much evil. What if it's like a cabal of 100, 200, 300,000 Illuminati type characters? I'm just saying Illuminati. I don't know what I'm saying, okay? I'm just saying a group of sneaky bastard criminals. They're like, we figured something out here. I've been doing it since 1950. You want to get a part of our secret UAP program, you can get right in and no one talks. Got it? No one talks? See me? Okay, no one talks. And guess what? You can set up your own personal Uncle Sam trust fund off the books. No one's going to know. We got $1 trillion. No one's going to care if we each get $1 million. And maybe we did see some UAPs. Maybe there were. Maybe. Wink, wink. Maybe we saw some UAPs. I don't know. Maybe. Okay? This could just be pure fraud. We might get to the bottom of this and say, here is their UAP making machine. Here's their bullshit they did. It's an elaborate thing. Now, the reason why I don't believe that's true, is because you would have to have hundreds of pilots involved who have seen these. radar technicians who also have radar data. That's in the Department of War files. It's also in a lot of testimonies. You would have to be involved with so many people. Is it possible still? It's possible it started with actually them finding something, or here's what a real criminal does. A real criminal does this. Check it out. Here's my new theory for tonight. Not a conspiracy channel, damn it. My new theory is this. They do find something. They do have videos. But then the smart criminal's like, okay, hide in plain sight. Yeah, we need to R&D this and keep it off the books. You know what I'm saying? Winking, yeah. Okay, see? Okay, keep it off the books. And then I might just have to go buy a hammer for $500,000 or 10 hammers for $50,000 because of special titanium hammers that have to work on the skin of the UAP. I don't know. Okay? Now you start seeing fraud, waste, and abuse. They're probably, at the end of the day, people are just getting rich. And if they really did discover stuff, well, holy crap. And they're probably getting really rich, okay? And if not, if it's really scary, like they're like, look, this is the end of the world type of stuff, well, then I think we still need to know about it so we can prepare, all right? Because I got some bucket list stuff that I want to do before the aliens eat us, like in the Nope movie. Did you guys answer that about the Nope? You guys seen the Nope one? The Nope one's terrible. Or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, lizard people are real. It's got to be Paul. Is Paul here? Not yet. Hey, what's up, Cedric? But if they're able to travel this far in 3,000 years advance, they must have a lot of meaning to their lives. I mean, Cedric, it could be real. We don't know. But what I'm saying is that even if it is real, you know these people are stealing money. Even if they have a real UFO there, they're like, even better chance to do fraud and steal. Well, I can't tell you about the $1 million we just took. You know, Jonesy got 50,000. I got 50,000 Christmas bonuses. Yes, 900,000 went right into the program. Well, where's the other 100,000? We can't talk about it. Sources, methods. You know what I mean? They just lie. They're probably people are on the take on this whole thing. You know they are. Okay. I'm just saying, why such an elaborate cover up? You see something, say something. Where there's friggin' smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire every time. David Grusch, he's shining a light on the bullshit. So are all the whistleblowers. Okay. Now let's listen to this next video here from Don Knapp. And if you guys appreciate my crazy new conspiracy story, give me a 1 in the chat or give me a fire symbol or something, okay? And while I'm getting this next one fired up, we're going to fire it up with a little bit of some tunage right now because we're definitely going over on the, let me see what I got here. I got some rock and roll too. All right, let's listen to this. Let's listen to this one here. Okay, here we go. A little bit of rock. All right, while I get this next clip. Answer my little thing if you like my new conspiracy. Give me a 1 or a fire symbol.
Baptized in rain, we won't break.
All my headbangers out there.
Stronger than the ruin
you know I'm around for it.
left behind. We won't break.
All right, that's good. That was your rock power booster, your heavy metal power booster. Let's listen to Don Knapp here. Check this out.
In this session, though, is Robert Bigelow. So looking into the idea of crash retrievals and reverse engineering, while OSAP, that program, was active, the DIA's contractor, Robert Bigelow of Las Vegas, made a bold attempt to acquire physical proof of UFO crashes. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy.
So we saw Lockheed Martin. We saw UAP Gerb talk about Northrop Grumman, BDM, TRW, Teledyne Technologies. Okay. If you weren't here earlier, check it out. So UAP Gerb, go ahead and follow him. Very good stuff. Literally, I got on his channel yesterday. It was like 90,000 or 80,000. He's now up to 124,000. He puts out like little movies. They're so good. So much love and appreciation to all the work he does because, man, I learned a lot just seeing a little bit from him. Okay. So we now know Lockheed Martin. We know Northrop Grumman. All the big ones have something to do with it. Los Alamos, MIT, Stanford. Okay. All this stuff.
And tried to figure out how it works. I have confirmed on the record that Robert Bigelow and a trusted colleague from OSAP met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here. I want to move on now to the Russia files because that was going to be sort of the center.
Okay, now the cynic in me is like, yeah, they're counterfeit bills, okay? But you see, it's very hard at this point for this to be a total hoax. Fraud still can be tons of fraud, okay? You can have a real hot war going on and people still committing fraud, right? Fraud, waste, and abuse. How about the CIA officer? Put me a 1 in the chat if you saw the CIA officer the other day that was caught with like 40 gold bars, 42 kilogram gold bars in his possession. Okay, I think it was worth like $100 million, something crazy like that. Give me a 1 in the chat if you saw that. That was nuts. So what I'm saying is that you can still have all these things, okay? You can still, have all these things going on. So the best way to hide is inside or next to something that's real. So the real thing is so glaring. UFO, UAP is so distracting, right? It can distract you from war. It can distract you from the Epstein files. It's so distracting. It can distract us from fraud, waste, and abuse, people stealing, all these things, okay? For sure, big money flying around, people are stealing stuff. There's no doubt. Okay, so George Knapp's going to talk a little bit here about the Russia file. Let's check this out.
Central impetus of what I was going to talk to you about today. Back in the early 90s, I got into Russia, met with a number of their defense officials, Ministry of Defense and others, who confirmed for me that Russia had been doing the same thing that the United States had been doing, that is, secretly studying UFOs while publicly saying something completely different. The documents and interviews that I obtained and have now shared with this task force show that the USSR launched what is almost certainly the largest UFO UAP investigation in the world. The first phase of that was an order was sent out to the entire USSR military empire that every unit, you see anything strange in the sky, a craft, an orb, something unusual, you had to gather all the evidence, collect testimony from the witnesses, look for physical evidence, and all of that information went into one program at the Ministry of Defense. Thousands.
Okay, so it's all over the place. This is the point, all right? And so we're going to drive on here now in a minute, okay? Like I was saying, we're going to drive on here in a minute onto our next event, onto our next act. But before we do, I got a couple more things to say, all right? The next act we are going into is Act 2, Trump's $1.8 billion IRS settlement. But before we go into there, what I want to say is this, okay? Moral courage doesn't just dismantle a corrupt structure, like I said. And so Grusch, what happened with him is he transitioned from lone whistleblower to a special advisor to Congress now is what he's doing. And June 9th, he's going to give that talk on the steps of the Capitol with other Congress people. He's now the tactical navigator guiding lawmakers through the deliberate, obscure labyrinth, this maze, the obscure maze of dark funding and hidden special access programs. He went from a threat to being indispensable now, okay? Largely, what protected him is because he came forward. He had the courage to step up and speak up, okay? He was a completely different person today. He went from threat to indispensable, and I want you to think about how rare that move is because most people that blow the whistle get destroyed in the arena, and they exit the arena. They don't come back. He was getting destroyed. He kept fighting. Important for all of us to take away. Kept fighting, kept doing what he stands right, kept speaking up, kept seeking help. He got help from some powerful allies, like, the two, Don Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, other whistleblowers. He also had legal protections. He set it up properly by going to the IG. That saved his ass, okay, from getting accused of espionage in the Espionage Act. That's real stuff, okay? So again, the lessons we can all take away here is what do we need to do in our lives to set up the proper legal structure to get outside experts to help us, right? And I believe getting coaches, mentors, getting teammates. If you have a business, don't just try to do it all yourself. Leverage artificial intelligence, leverage building a team, okay? Hire people if you need to, okay? Now, Grusch did get destroyed, but he came back now as the architect, and that's a completely different psychological profile. He kept fighting, kept trying, kept finding ways to get help and not just do it alone, all right? It maps onto something I see in the best leaders I've ever coached. The ones who don't just identify the problem, they feel personally responsible for the solution, okay? They don't just say it's someone else's fault, someone else got to deal with it. They suck their thumb, they say they're a victim. They step up and try to find a solution, all right? And this is it. This is it in a nutshell. If it's broken and you found it, it's yours to fix, okay? That's the burden and the gift of real leadership, all right? That's the identity. That's what he did. Okay. He said, this is the buck stops here. The buck stops here with me. I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to take care of this myself. I'm not going to be a part of this garbage. All right. And before we go into Act 2, I just want to stop for 60 seconds because what we just covered, all right, the cost of complicity, the price of identity under pressure, what it actually takes to operate with integrity inside a broken system, that's not abstract. All right. That is the work. And some of you watching right now are in the middle of that exact fight inside your organization. Okay. So let me I'll tell you what's available to you if you're ready to go deeper. Okay. I've got my advisory, my one-on-one coaching. I just had a spot come open. Okay. I have one opening in my private executive advisory program. If you're ready for that, it's a weekly one-on-one working with me, direct access, no fluff, no group calls. We build your leadership identity, your decision-making framework, and your execution architecture from the ground up, okay? I usually work in 6-month blocks, either 6 months or 1 year. If you're interested, book a call with me. The link is inside my bio and also inside the description. Click on there. We'll see if you're a good fit, if I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me. Answer a few questions, and we'll get this discovery call, okay? And I'm going to be straight with you about how this works. If you want that spot, book it now, okay? Click the link in my YouTube bio to book the call with me. And my time is valuable and so is yours, so it'll be well worth it, all right? One spot, if it's for you, you already know that. Just go ahead and book that call, and we'll figure it out together, all right? Okay, next I want to talk to you about something else. My next thing is the inner circle. This is the big entry point right here. If you're not at that level of commitment yet, where you're ready to do a one-on-one program with me, or if you want to build the foundation before we work together to one-on-one, that's exactly what Inner Circle is for. This is my private mastermind community, okay? Weekly sessions, real work, real leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, high performers, people that have a champion mindset, a champion's heart. I got some amazing people in there who are such go-getters, okay? At all different stages in life, all different stages in their businesses and their careers. And they're done coasting, though. That's the biggest thing. If you're done coasting, you're ready to operate at a different level. We go deep on the IEE framework, the identity, energy, and environment, okay? And we apply it directly to your business, your leadership, and your life. The link is in the description for this as well, too, and also in my bio. Just go ahead and click in the description. Click on it inside my bio, okay? And if you have any questions, let me know about it. But there's a whole video to watch. I've played it in here in the chat before. There's a whole video to watch. There's a whole landing page, webpage. You can learn a ton about it. And then you can just DM me or you can email me, ben@benpappas.com. Again, ben@benpappas.com if you have any questions. And you can also, we can set up a time to talk, all right? Click it, see what we're building inside, and if it's for you, you'll know. I'd love to have you there. Most of my advisory clients come through the Inner Circle or through my membership first. I'll say that. They did the work, they got results, and when they were ready to go deeper, they knew exactly where to come, okay? That's the path, that's the way. All right. Give me a fire symbol in the chat if you're interested in my Inner Circle or my advisory, and also if you're ready to go on to Act 2. Give me that fire symbol, all right? We're going to fire it up right now. Drop a little music in here. Get your club on. We just hit some rock and roll. We're about to hit some club because right now we are going into Act 2, and it is going to be, right about now, going to be club time, baby. Let's rock and roll. Let's go.
Yeah!
Fire it up. Get the energy going, baby.
Feel that kinetic hit. Let the energy ignite.
Give me those fire symbols if you're ready to go.
Take it to the red line.
Because it's going to be soon to change out the poll.
Raise the pressure, raise the tide. Raise the pressure,
I'm ready.
raise the tide.
You guys ready? All right, poll's changing out.
Raise it up.
All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm going to get ready to put in the next poll right here. But right now, we are talking about the accountability audit. All right, a whole nother type of fraud, a whole nother type of shadow illegal program, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, $1.776 billion settlement in the leadership cost of this, of perceived impunity. What the hell is going on? Okay, what is happening with this? So, yeah, I got to say, I want to know what you guys think. in the chat. First of all, give me a chat. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've heard about this 1.776 billion, I don't know, fund, this slush fund that's being created. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard about that, okay? Let me see. Is this okay to have a 1.776 billion fund? I'm just going to use okay. To, I'm going to say slush fund. That's really what it is. Slush fund to reward political supporters and no longer investigate Trump family. Let me see. Let me see if I get this in here, guys, okay? I see a lot of 1s, a lot of, okay, you guys heard of it? I'm going to say, is it okay? I'm running out of words here. Okay. And all right, almost there, almost 1 second, guys. And not investigate Trump family. And never. There we go. Okay, I got it. Here it is. Here's the poll, guys. It's a doozy. It is a doozy poll. Is it okay to have a 1.776 billion fund is what I say, to reward political supporters and the IRS never investigate Trump family? No, 100%. I agree. All right, let's get into it. Here we go. And real quick, before we get into it, round of applause for Best Chat on YouTube real quick. Best Chat on YouTube. Celebrate, baby. It's all on you. You guys make it happen. And I believe that I saw your calls. I heard your calls in the chat that somebody needed to be out of here. And it has been done. If people aren't playing along, flying along by the rules of the chat, then we gotta at least gotta put the sanction on them, put the tariffs on them. Okay, let's jump in here. Let's get into this. Let's talk about this. There is a whole nother thing going on. We're talking about accountability audit, leadership costs of perceived impunity, and just what is going on. Okay. I mentioned this in the open. I've talked about it a bunch. I want to make sure I understand how live this is, as in the ruling came down today, okay? Hours ago, while most people were going about their Friday, U.S. District Judge Leonie Brinkema, Eastern District of Virginia, Clinton appointee, okay, there it is, just issued a temporary block on the entire $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund. But I want to tell you, there were a ton of Republican senators who were against this, opposed to this. One of the guys was all pissed off about it. They showed him on CNN. He's like, yeah, I'm going to block this thing. This is not going. Okay. Anti-weaponization fund. She barred the administration from considering any submitted claims, paying out any claims, and from continuing to establish the fund at all while litigation is pending. She scheduled a June 12th hearing to determine whether to extend the order. Her exact words, she needed to ensure that no funds are, quote, irreversibly dispersed while the motion is pending, meaning giving money to January 6th people convicted, okay? Now, just so we're clear, we're not talking run-of-the-mill January 6th protesters that showed up. We're talking ones that, like, were beating up cops, doing stuff, all that, all right? This is what Trump administration is saying this is for. It's anti-weaponization. If the judicial branch has been weaponized against people, okay? And they've expanded it to other people as well, too, is what they said. But primarily, they said, well, you need to guarantee us that isn't going to January 6th people. And they said, we can't guarantee you that, okay? So this is a hot topic. But again, doesn't really pass the sniff test, okay? And you tell me in the chat what you think. But let's listen. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put this video on right now because to me, this pissed me off. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, what the hell are we doing right now? What are we doing? Because on top of that, part of the deal, President Trump will no longer, he's pulling away a $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS. And the settlement is this $1.8 billion deal. Plus, the Trump family can never be investigated or audited again by the IRS. Okay? And I'm not kidding. If this seems crazy to you, let me know. Because it seems crazy to me. It seems definitely crazy to me. Okay? So let's go. This isn't what we're going to see right now. We've already seen this one, seen that one, seen that one. Here we go. Check this out.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's so-called anti-weaponization fund. Just last week, the Justice Department announced a $1.776 billion fund to be paid for by taxpayers. You'll remember it came out of a settlement where President Donald Trump dropped a lawsuit against the IRS, and in exchange, that fund was created. The money would compensate people the DOJ said were mistreated by the Justice Department under the Biden administration.
A former January 6th prosecutor and others have since sued to block that fund, which could give January 6th rioters who were pardoned by the president the chance to apply for money from the federal government. In response to today's ruling blocking the fund, the DOJ now says it is, quote, confident in the legality of the fund. Let's bring in NBC News Chief White House correspondent.
Now, here's the thing. They already have a process for this. All of the lawmakers are saying we already have a process for this. Okay? This is not a part of our legal process, the judicial process, where we have a review of someone's case. And if they were, illegally held, unjustly treated, we already have a process. We don't need to have this fund there. Okay? So, put a 1 in the chat. If this doesn't pass the sniff test for you, put a 1 in the chat. Just on your initial take. Give me a 1 in the chat if this does not pass the sniff test. To me, this does not pass the damn sniff test. Crazy stuff. Taxpayers paying for this too. I mean, I don't know. Affordability's down. Gas prices are up. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Fraud, waste, and abuse. And yet we're talking about, I don't know, $1.8 billion going where? Why isn't it going to the schools? Why isn't it going to, I don't know, programs to make things more affordable? I don't know. Lots to think about, okay? And then what bothers me even more is this immunity from being audited by the IRS. Now, I don't know all the particulars. I'm just saying, again, this isn't about the politics. That's not what I'm doing here. This isn't about the politics. What this is about, okay, because frankly, I don't care about the politics. What I do care about is, A, what is this for? The money, okay? B, because some of them may have been unjustly treated, but they have a process for this. I'm concerned about $1.8 billion misappropriated in a slush fund. I don't know for what. And then I'm concerned about someone, I don't care if it's the president, being told basically, you're above the law. You can't be audited by the IRS ever again. This is what they said. I'm not making this shit up. Okay? So let's talk about this. The underlying lawsuit had a legitimate basis. A former IRS contractor named Charles Littlejohn was sentenced to 5 years in prison for illegally leaking the plaintiff's confidential tax returns. Real crime, real harm. He paid the price. Sounds like there was a sentence, okay? Legal claim made sense. But then, and this is where it gets genuinely fascinating from a governance standpoint, the settlement terms got a little creative. Buckle up for this one, okay? Littlejohn sentenced to 5 years. IRS data breach confirmed, okay? All of this is true. Settlement filed January 2026. Dismissed with prejudice. But here's where we shift from legal analysis to leadership analysis, because these are not the same conversation. Perception is reality as a leader. If your people perceive you're doing things that are kind of, screwy, they're going to really think that. Perception is reality for a leader, just is. From a pure governance standpoint, follow the money here. A significant portion of this $1.776 billion taxpayer-funded pool is earmarked for financial restitution for individuals convicted in connection with the January 6th Capitol riots, okay? Now, I'm not relitigating that day. That's someone else's job. But I am going to point out something that any CFO or board member in this audience will immediately recognize. When an institution uses its central treasury to fund private legal restitution completely outside of the standard legislative appropriations process, you don't have a spending decision. You have a fiduciary crisis. Full stop. Okay? Here's a big point takeaway. Capital allocation reveals organizational values more accurately than any mission statement ever will. I'm going to say that again. Money, where the money goes, okay, reveals organizational values, okay, and your values, frankly, more accurately than any mission statement ever will, okay? Here's the simple version. Where money flows, it tells you what the organization actually values. Tony Robbins always says, okay, I've been quoting him twice today, where focus goes, energy flows, right? Where money flows, organization values goes, right? That type of thing. Now what it says, not what it says, but what it actually values, okay? Not what's on the poster in the break room, where the money goes, okay? And when that money can't be traced, like the UAP UFO, then when there's no audit mechanism, when the oversight architecture has been deliberately bypassed, okay, you got some problems. You don't have leadership, that's for sure. You have a slush fund with a press release, okay? Let's listen to a little bit more here.
Garrett, hey, Garrett, how did the judge come to this decision, and have we heard any response or reaction yet from the White House?
Okay, the order from the judge is brief and to the point, but it is essentially that the decision had to be made to kick this out to a further hearing, which will happen in a couple of weeks. And until then, blocking any action on the fund, which can't then later be reversed. So the White House hasn't commented on this. They referred us back to the Justice Department, as you pointed out, says they'll continue to argue this in the subsequent hearings. The president has, in the past, defended this fund as necessary to help the people he believes are the other victims of Biden-era weaponization, a claim that has not gotten him very far here with the courts or with even members of his own party who've been, in large amount, opposed to the creation of this fund.
And Garrett, what are we hearing from?
I mean, to me, it seems like he's really just playing to his base, to honestly, probably the fringes of his base even, okay? Or the deepest part of his base. You guys tell me in the chat, do you think this is just a play to, you know, win favor with the deepest part of his base? Which I know all politicians do stuff like this. I know they do. But give me a one in the chat if you think this is just about a political move before the midterms. Give me a one in the chat for that. But the next part is what concerns me, frankly, just as much, if not more. Probably more. Okay? The immunity thing. Let's watch this next one. Let's switch gears here. Check this out. And obviously, I know that the last guy's NBC. They aren't friends of Trump. I know a CNN reporter here. I forgot his name. He's not a friend of Trump either, okay? I'm politically independent. I don't care. I'm just calling it like I see it. I think it's like, you know, I just think it's screwy. It's screwy, and so that's why I'm talking about it. I think it just doesn't seem right. Doesn't pass the sniff test. Here we go. Let's listen.
Is asserting that as of now, President Trump, his family, and any businesses. President Trump, the Justice Department is asserting that as of now, President Trump, his family, and any businesses related to them or trusts do not have to answer any questions that the IRS might have about their taxes, whether they were paid or not.
How is this okay? How is this even a thing? How is this even okay? Let me see where we are with our chat right now. I mean, yeah, I agree. That is bad, right? It's nuts. I'm Machine. What's going on, man? Lisa Jones. Tell me what you really think, Lisa. Yeah, exactly. It's nuts. Honestly, I heard it. I was so disappointed. I was like, come on, man. Even if you said, okay, I'm suing you guys, you're giving me $1.8 billion instead, it's going to go to a fund for people I want it to go to. Cool. Got it. You guys can figure that out. Politicians, this is what you do. I don't want to do it. Okay. And for sure, let's say example, I saw a case of a January 6th protest that broke a window. They should get in trouble, sure. But I heard it was like, I heard they went to solitary confinement for like a year. Or maybe it's solitary confinement, but they went, no, house arrest. It was house arrest for 3 years. That's a little extreme, right? Should you get in trouble? Sure. That's an isolated case, one of them. There's already a process in place for it, okay? But what I do want to say is this. The whole immunity thing, don't have to answer any questions from the IRS. I don't understand this. How does that make sense to me? It makes no sense to me. So you didn't commit a crime last time. We thought maybe you did, but You're free and clear to do whatever the hell you want. No one's going to ask, so just do whatever you want from now on. Nuts. I'm telling you, it goes right to the UAP UFO thing. Okay? This, to me, is another unacknowledged special access program. It's nuts, man. And I normally don't talk politics stuff. Again, this isn't about politics. This is the optics of leadership. Let me stay clean on this. Optics of leadership. If you're a leader, all of you are, some way, shape, or form. If you're doing something that if you ask yourself and you say, does this pass the sniff test? And one of your number one people, could be a family member, could be a friend, could be your own conscience. Hopefully we all have a conscience. Says to you, no, Ben, this sounds pretty bad. This looks pretty bad. You got to think, it looks pretty bad. I better not do it. Probably keep as far away as you can. I was once told when I was in doing, my interagency stuff, when I was in working in a joint billet while still a Marine officer as a Marine Corps attaché, the lawyer, big lawyer for the DIA, told me, he said, if you ever come close to something that seems legally going to put you in legal jeopardy, he said, don't go to the edge and look down. Like the Van Halen song, I've been to the edge. I stood and looked down, right? I lost a lot of friends there, baby. He said, don't go to that edge. Stay 5 feet back and call for legal advice. Unfortunately, if President Trump called for legal advice, this ding-a-ling told him, oh, yes, Mr. President, right away. You can do whatever you want to, Mr. President. I want to keep my job. He's like, all right, cool. I can do it. Good. I'm going to do it. Legally, maybe he can. But legal discussion and leadership discussion and what's perceived as right are two different things. Because just because you can, here's the big lesson, everyone. Major takeaway. This is a friggin' snapshot right now. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard that before. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Again, we're looking through the leadership lens here. What's up, Moody? What's going on? Good to have you. A scamdemic Crusader. I think Crusader, didn't you tell me about Narcos Rubio too? Or so maybe Paul did. Paul told me Narcos Rubio. Never heard that. Hilarious. All right, let's watch the rest of this because this is screwy. This is freaking kooky to me. Again, Mr. President, come on. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Come on.
President Trump, his family, and any businesses related to them or trusts do not have to answer any questions that the IRS might have about their taxes, whether they were paid or not in full and how they were paid, and can never again be prosecuted for anything related to that. This is bound to be very controversial.
Nuts.
For any number of reasons, including questions about the president's past tax returns. This is part of that agreement that the government entered into with President Trump for dropping his $10 billion lawsuit against the federal government because of the leaking of his tax returns during his first term. As part of that agreement, the federal government, the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, posted in a 1-page memo on Tuesday morning that the government, as of now, quote, releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs, that's Trump, his family, and his companies, from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals for request for any relief, meaning anything that happened in his taxes in the past doesn't matter.
Whoa, hold on a second. This is nutty. You guys see this, what this means? Let's zoom in. I'm zooming in. The United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded. That means President Trump, his sons, his family, the Trump Organization, from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals, or requests for any relief, including injunctive relief, monetary relief, damages, examinations, blah, 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 attorney's fees, anything of any wrongdoing in his taxes in the past. Okay? And we never have seen all the taxes. This guy released a little bit. Who saw him? I don't know anybody saw him, okay? And he got in trouble, 5 years in prison. Sounds like they punished the person responsible, but they sued the IRS. Who gets a deal like this? The $1.8 billion I could even see as a settlement, but this is the one that really bothers me more than anything, honestly. The other one's not right either. Doesn't sound like it, but again, I'm not talking about the legal stuff here. I'm talking about leadership optics, guys. Leadership decisions, leadership optics. That's what we talk about here. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. All right? So he cannot be prosecuted. He can't be no claims, no appeals, no investigations, nothing. Nothing. All right, let's keep going.
In all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals for request for any relief, meaning anything that happened in his taxes in the past doesn't matter one way or the other. This is also part of that agreement that had $1.8 billion. Critics are calling it a political slush fund. It is for alleged victims of the weaponization of the Justice Department, which could include rioters on January 6th, including those who vandalized the Capitol, including those who beat up police officers. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche was on Capitol Hill Tuesday, and he answered some questions.
See you, Joe.
About this $1.8 billion fund, and he said it will be confidential and anyone can apply. One Republican congressman pointed out that there seems to be an inherent conflict of interest here because Todd Blanche and the federal government are entering into an agreement with and negotiating with the same person that they respond to, President Trump, their boss, and the plaintiff, their boss now is no longer going to be held accountable for anything having to do with his taxes as of now. And in addition, friends and allies can apply for funds from this $1.8 billion fund paid for by your tax dollars.
That's nuts. Friends and allies can apply for money. Anti-weaponization if they've been harmed in the judicial process, all that stuff. Okay. But the biggest thing is this. Does this seem right? This is the question for tonight, okay? Does this seem right? I'm going to see what you guys say in there. Let me see, guys. Tell me what you think. see what you guys think in there, okay? Does it seem right to you? That's the big question. All right. Okay. Justice Department announces anti-weaponization fund, part of a settlement agreement in President Donald J. Trump versus Internal Revenue Service. Okay, this is the official on the justice.gov webpage. Here it is. Okay. Okay, and we talked about this enough already right there. Let's look at this one. Justice Department announces nearly $1.8 billion fund to compensate Trump allies in a deal to drop the IRS suit. Okay, so we just talked about this as well. I think he really did a great summary job on this. But let's talk a little bit more. All right. The Attorney General, this is an important thing. The Attorney General personally handpicks the 5-member commission that decides who gets paid from this fund. Okay? That's a big thing. Now, those decisions cannot be appealed. So the Attorney General handpicks the 5-member commission that decides who gets paid from the fund. The decisions cannot be appealed, cannot be challenged in court, and public disclosure of who received a payout and how much is not required. Again, unacknowledged special access program. Public disclosure of who received a payout and how much is not required. I want you to think about that. Is that okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think it's not okay that they don't have to disclose who's getting paid out and how much. These are taxpayer funds. Why doesn't Congress know about it? Why is it a matter of congressional record? I don't understand. Just like this unacknowledged special access UAP program. I don't understand. There you go, Crusader. Fund must go back to the Americans. I have no doubt about that, man. So, this is nuts. I don't care you're Republican, Democrat. This is not American. To me, this is freaking weird. I don't care if some dude was put away unjustly and they want to, do restitution. Fine. But why shouldn't the Congressional Oversight Committee have that as a matter of record? It's like my pay stubs as a military officer were a matter of record. It was there, right? It's in the military rolls. Someone can do a FOIA and research that. This is nuts. This is how you form a private freaking army. Brown shirts. Remember that? World War II? Nuts. I'm going to read it again slowly to you. Those decisions, okay, the Attorney General personally handpicks the 5-member commission that decides who gets paid from this fund. Okay. Those decisions cannot be appealed. Not good, but okay. They cannot be challenged in court. Not good, wrong to me. And public disclosure of who received a payout and how much is not required. That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. Read that back again to yourself. Say it back to yourself again. Think about that. No appeals, no court challenge, no disclosure in a taxpayer-funded billion-dollar program. Your money, my money, our money. That's not a governance structure. That's a black box with a presidential signature on it. I don't understand. I don't get it. It does not pass my freaking sniff test. This is nuts. Okay? To me, this is nutty. Absolutely nutty. All right? Beyond nutty. And here's what makes tonight's ruling so significant. Judge Brickema didn't just slow this down. She froze it completely. Now, there are a lot of Republican senators that were trying to do the same. Her read was that once money starts flowing through a structure, no appeals, no transparency, no disclosure requirements, that's what we just said, it cannot be recalled. The damage becomes permanent. So she stopped the clock. That is the judiciary doing exactly what it's designed to do, okay? And here's what makes this particularly interesting from an institutional behavior standpoint. The most senior members of the president's own party are actively blocking their highest priority legislation, specifically to contest this fund. That's not partisan opposition. That's the constitutional legislature, the architecture of checks and balances, working exactly as designed to do. When your team pumps the brakes, that's a signal worth paying attention to. Okay? The Republicans are pumping the brakes on this. It's crazy. All right. The perception problem, the audit problem. Here's the big leadership lesson here for everybody. Okay? There's another dimension to this, the settlement. And this is the one I want locked in your memory permanently. Okay? Buried in this settlement terms, quietly added through a hyperlink in DOJ press release, not mentioned out loud by the acting attorney general during Senate testimony on the very same day, is a clause stating the U.S. government is, quote, forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting President Trump, his sons, and the Trump Organization for past tax issues. I don't get it, okay? I don't get it. I'm going to tell you something. Again, leadership channel, we're looking through the leadership lens, executive decision-making, how to become a better leader, how to make better decisions, all those things, okay? This is bad news. Everybody can see exactly what this is. Is it justice or just us, right? Does that mean the law doesn't apply to everybody? How does this even make sense? I don't get it. So now because you were wrongly, they did you wrong, you are above the law from now on. From this particular law, you're above it from now on. And everybody in your family too. What? Forever barred, precluded. Those are the actual words, right? Let that land for a minute, okay? And here's what tells you how extraordinary this language is. A group of 35 retired federal judges, not activists, not politicians, not pundits, retired federal judges have formally asked U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams of South Florida to investigate whether the deal itself constitutes fraud. Okay? Again, leadership decisions, everybody. Leadership decisions. Fraud. Not overreach, not political maneuvering, fraud. Wow, Nick Shirley, fraud in Minnesota. Somali daycare fraud. California fraud. Fraud here, fraud there. UAP, UFO fraud. Freaking fraud everywhere. And now, fraud here. Guys, give me a 1 in the chat if you're seeing what I'm seeing. And I hate to be jaded, but I'm here to tell you there's a lot of damn fraud. Give me a 1 in the chat if you think that there's a lot of damn fraud going on. Okay? Yep. Give me a 1 in the chat if you think there's a lot of fraud going on. Yep. A lot of fraud. A lot of stuff happening. And I'm not even, honestly, Paul, I'm not even relitigating January 6th. That's done. They did all that. I'm just saying the thing that really gets me, honestly, more than anything, is the never investigated again. And maybe I have it all wrong. I don't know. But I got a lot of videos here, a lot of people talking, a lot of documents we're looking at that seem to say that. Very strange, okay? Very strange. Cedric, hey, Ben, California's messed up with that high-speed train. Whoa, spent on lawyers. Yeah, man, that's messed up. That is nuts. A lot of money and nothing even happened. Yep, Mark says 1. We getting robbed. Jason says, Lady Ann says 100%. Matt Burns says, yep. Moody Cat, yep. Crusader, yep. Frosty says, yep. What's up, Frosty? Jason says, yep. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you're new here, welcome to the Best Chat on YouTube. We're going to do a little Best Chat celebration here. It is Friday night. We're rocking and rolling. We're going to re-energize. Re-energize the chat real quick. Get ourselves fired up. What do I got here? Time for another maybe rock and roll. Another rock and roll song. All right, we're doing it.
Born inside the fiery cinder, watch my ignition take the sky, reaching for a new altitude.
Fire it up, everybody. Fire it up. Get the energy back up. Round of applause for all of you. Look at those emojis. Round of applause for yourselves, damn it. All right, we're rolling. So, while we're rocking out, getting our rock out on right here, because it's Friday night, we got to keep the energy going high. This is crazy stuff, right? 35 federal retired judges formally requested fraud investigation into the Trump IRS settlement. I don't make this stuff up. I just tell you current events, and we look at it through a leadership lens, decision making. We look at it through strategy, analysis, in order to upgrade our lives. That's what this channel is all about, all right? So what we're doing right now is looking at leadership best practices. No matter what you're leading, I don't care if you're at an elementary school, you're leading a 7-Eleven, you're leading a team of construction workers, you're a police officer, you're leading a business. Again, like I said before, just because you can doesn't mean you should, number one. Perception is reality, number two. If you're doing things that seem screwy, people are going to look at you screwy, okay? Like we're doing with President Trump right now. He's got a lot of other stuff to deal with, okay? Why this? Come on. I just thought of something, though. Another thing I just thought of. You guys tell me what you think. Do you think it's possible, and honestly tell me, do you think it's possible he's doing this because he's afraid they're going to lose the House in November, and they may come to impeach him, and he's trying to get all the legal protections he can? Do you think that's a possibility? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think it's a possibility. Give me a 0 in the chat if you don't think so. Honestly, I just make that up off the top of my head. But why would you make this a thing? You're basically saying, look, I don't want you checking my tax records ever. Don't look in that place. Don't look there. Anywhere but there. Damn it. And I'm going to make sure you can never look there. We're going to bulldoze. All I asked was to see in that part of the house. You can never see it. We're going to bulldoze it, put concrete over it, and then we're going to launch a bomb on top of it so no one can ever see what's there. Absolutely screwy, man. Huge freaking mess. Yeah, the Diamond Dog says 1. Paul says it's weird. Our own judges wear black robes to keep in scary movies. Yeah, in France, the lawyers do too. Zachary says 1. Jason says, I'm looking. Okay. Yep. Screwy, man. Welcome in, New World Com. Welcome. Okay. It's just really interesting. We the people must stand up to these bad actors. Okay. Yep. Welcome in, New World Com. Good to have you. Yep. Love me some animals too. Animals get hurt in all this too, just like a lot of innocent people. All right. I love looking at all the animal stuff out there. One of the coolest things ever on Instagram, quick aside, is I get to see all these crazy animal pictures and videos that as a kid growing up you could never see. You'd have to watch like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Mark, I know you remember that. Taking it way back to everybody right now. Okay, let's keep going. I got another video here to show. I think this one is okay. And then we're about to get into our leadership lessons of South Park really soon. As we talked a lot about this stuff, but we're almost there. Check this one out, though. This is pretty good, too.
That's a breaking news in a special edition of Legal AF. The first judge to block the anti-weaponization fund, slush fund of Donald Trump. We have the order in our hands from this morning. And more importantly, we've got the head of Democracy Forward, Sky Perryman, whose group obtained the injunction. The injunction will last till the 12th of June, 2 Fridays, while Judge Brinkema gets her arms and mind around the briefing and holds the hearing on whether the fund that Trump has tried to set up with his Department of Justice and his Internal Revenue Service violates the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the Administrative Procedures Act, and you name what else. In the interim, let me first, let's bring in Sky, because she can have a smile on her face when I read the order that your team obtained just moments ago. And then you can talk about how you got the order and the strategy behind it. The order is as follows: ordered that defendants be and are enjoined from taking any further action pursuant to the creation or operation of the Anti-Weaponization Fund, which includes the transferring of money to the fund, the consideration of any claims submitted to the fund, and the dispersing of any funds from the fund. And then there's a footnote. This is where I want to lead off our interview. The footnote says it is important that the status quo be maintained until plaintiff's pending motion has been resolved, especially, Judge Brinkema writes, as plaintiffs allege in their expedited motion that defense counsel, that's the Trump side, quote, was unable to provide assurances of how long the status quo would last and decline plaintiffs' request that the government commit to not transferring money to the fund or processing or paying claims until at least June 19 to allow for a less compressed briefing in this case. How important?
So this is some important stuff. You can actually see this is the real legal document, the real legal order from Judge Brinkema, okay, saying to, block this thing totally. So, you're seeing the real legal document here. Again, guys, this is governance at work. This is leadership at work through your institutions, through the processes. This is, big G governance. This is big L leadership through processes, institutions, organizations. But again, it's oversight. And when you fail to provide assurances that you're going to do something, this is how you build trust as a leader. If you don't, you don't assure your team and your people or your family or your loved ones that I'm going to do this or I won't do that. If you don't provide assurances, people are going to start taking action against you. And that's what this judge is doing. All right. Just as a leadership lesson right there. And so, and I want to say this, that I want to be precise here because the president's legal team would argue this is a legitimate legal remedy for documented harm. Okay. There's a legal argument to be made for sure. I'm not a lawyer. This is not a law school. It's not what I'm talking about. But here's what I am. I'm a leadership coach who spent over 2 decades watching how power gets used inside institutions and watching people build themselves up and overcome adversity and obstacles, watching teams do more than they ever thought they could before, okay? And what I can tell you is this. As a leader, here's the question you need to sit with, okay? What does it do to your authority? I'm going to come full screen here. What does it do to your authority when the people you lead believe you have exempted yourself from the rules that they are still required to follow? Okay? I want you to think about that. Because perceived impunity, this is just as lethal to leadership authority as actual misconduct. Perceived misconduct is just as bad as actual misconduct as far as your leadership credibility goes, okay? Yes, would you get in trouble? No. But remember I told you before about the whole Strait of Hormuz thing, about the Iran thing? Power is based on perception. If people think you have power, you have power. If they don't think so, you have to go about proving it, okay? So the whole thing with the Iran thing is that if we lose the perception of power in the world's eyes, the U.S. has to go about flexing itself again to prove it's powerful. You understand? It's the same thing here as a leader. If you're perceived to be slimy and doing backhanded stuff, doing backdoor deals, sneaky stuff, you're not keeping your word, you're sneaking around on people, you're keeping secrets, you're withholding information, okay? Your people will not follow you. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're tracking and if you agree with me. Give me a 1 in the chat if you agree, 0 if you disagree. It's fine to disagree as well too, okay? That will not get you blocked or anything crazy. Think about this in the context of your own organization. If you run a company, a division, a team, and your people believe you hold yourself to a different standard than the one you enforce on them, I mean lower, not different standard being above, I mean lower, you've already lost them, okay? They'll comply on the surface for sure. They'll perform when you're watching, but the discretionary effort, the loyalty, the genuine followership, yeah, I don't think so. Okay, it's gone. Because followership is not a function of authority. They don't have to follow you. They can be like in China, waving the flags like this. Down low, up high. Down low, up high. Or like the great leader in North Korea. They're all cheering for him all crazy. Okay? It's so funny. Genuine followership is a function of trust. They got to trust you. Again, like I said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay? I got a lot of ones out there. Okay? That's why Iran's not giving up 100%. They see America as weak. Yep, no crusader. They see that that we care more about the elections than we do about actually making this happen. And they probably know it's a big cost for us too. You're not wrong about that for sure. Crusader 1, Cedric, I'm discovering. Yep, Lady Ann 1, Mark 1, Phoenix 1, the Diamond Dog. If an alien come to the USA, what is the law of Trump fire? I don't know, maybe. Crusader, okay, let's see. Matt Byrne 1, the Diamond Dog 1. Okay, got it. Let's keep going. All right. Trust at its foundation is built on one thing. Remember this. People will follow you if they trust you, okay? And also, not just if they trust you, but yes, trust is built, though, on capability plus intention. You have the capabilities to do the job, to lead, to do whatever it is, to be a good friend. Let's say the job is to be a good friend, okay? And then you have the intentions to be a good friend. You have both, okay? Just because you're a good guy, okay? We said this all the time in the Marine Corps. I said it all the time in Special Operations. Just because someone is a good person doesn't mean they're trustworthy on my team. You can be a good person, but if you don't have the skills and the ability, you don't have the killer instinct, you don't know the job, I can't have you on here, okay? But on the same token, if you're the highly badass operator, okay, but you don't have good intentions and you're out there doing your own thing, you're deceitful, you're maybe evil, you're dishonest, I don't want you either. Capability plus intention, you need them both, okay? Trust as its foundation is built in one thing as well. Part of this, fairness, okay? Perceived fairness, capabilities plus intentions, character, okay? All of that matters, all right? Performance plus character, capability plus intentions, okay? Perceived fairness as well. Not perfection, nobody's perfect. Not flawless decision-making, no one can do that. That doesn't happen. But fairness, capabilities plus intention. Okay? And right now, what are the intentions? Like I said, is there a cover-up for something? Should we be afraid to see your tax returns? For the rest of it? For life? Not even your kids? Not the organization, even after you pass on? What is this? What the hell is this? Okay? And here's what makes this specific case so instructive for leaders at every level. It isn't just the president. The exemption covers his sons. What I was just saying, okay? His family, their business enterprises, permanently. No future examinations, no future prosecutions for anyone connected to that name. What the fuck? Right? I don't know. Think about how that lands with all of us who are supposed to be being led, not just political opponents. Think about the average citizen who really doesn't care. But when you start telling them this, like, what? Think about the trust in the government, trust in leaders, trust in the president. The business owner who just went through a brutal IRS audit. I remember one of my clients once went through a brutal audit, and they said my client owed like another $100,000. They fought it and said they didn't, and they were cleared after a few months. But the stress for a few months was nuts. Not to mention they did have to pay $5,000 or $10,000 for an IRS tax lawyer to help them. It still cost them money. They couldn't ask the IRS for that money back. IRS is like, yeah, okay, pound sand. We don't know. Think about the employee who would be terminated immediately for a fraction of the ethical conduct this represents, okay? Something the frig is going on, and we got to get a hold of it, okay? At our own level, in our own lives, I'm not doing the whole political thing right now. I'm saying in our lives, use this as an example of what not to do, frankly, okay? Lack of transparency. For millions of people in this country, this doesn't feel like a legal settlement. Look where in your life you have the potential to make a decision that might make you look bad, right? It might make you look not even bad. Some people have unpopular decisions they have to make. People don't like it. That's fine. I'm talking making you look dishonest, making you look like your intentions are bad. They're not good. They're not for the team. Self-protection, right? This feels like a two-tiered system. One set of rules and another set of rules for everybody else. One set of rules for someone who's super powerful, another set of rules for everybody else. We know that already exists. I know. But I'm saying at this level, I mean, it's one thing. You're already elected as the president of the United States. You have tons of power, tons of agency and ability. This just seems like above and beyond. Okay? Again, leadership channel, leadership lens. How can you apply this to your own life, your own business, your own organization? Okay? But here's the brutal reality of leadership. It doesn't matter whether it was technically permissible, like I said. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Leadership is not governed solely by what is technically permissible. Leadership is governed by perception, by trust, by the integrity of the standards you claim to uphold. All right? Accountability is not a bureaucratic penalty, okay? It is the foundational constraint that prevents a system from tearing itself apart. All right? So accountability. Self-accountability first as a leader. It's a great book called The Speed of Trust. One of the most important things in there is accountability in an organization, on a team. Self-accountability for you as the leader first, right? Then accountability for everybody else, or at the same time. And if you make a mistake, be transparent, own up to it, okay? Nobody's perfect. And there's one more thing, and I want you to sit with this connection before I play the next video. If a system is willing to build dark walls to conceal advanced technology, as we covered in Act 1, it will use the exact same psychological architecture to build dark walls around capital and around power, okay? The mechanism is identical. The psychology is identical. What changes is only the subject matter. Do you see what I'm saying here? Do you see why these are connected? Everybody see that? Give me a 1 in the chat if you're tracking with me, okay? The major ferocious optimist takeaway here, you don't get to lead people and exempt yourself from accountability. The moment your team believes you operate under different rules than the ones you enforce, okay, the foundation is cracked. Not collapsed, not yet, but cracked. And cracks, if you don't address them, become the fault line that breaks everybody else, that breaks the foundation, okay? Good to go. I see that. Freedom says correct. Freedom's Cherry 1. Cedric Meyer says 1. Yeah, give me a 1 if you're tracking, guys, on that. All right? And then let me know here in the chat, where in your own leadership have you ever held yourself to a different standard than you held your team? Be honest. Drop it in the chat, okay? Because there are times to learn as a leader too, right? There are times we learn, okay? Put it in the chat. When there's been a time. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Welcome to the best chat on YouTube. Great to have you here. We're about to get into Act 3 right about now. It's time to fire up some of the energy here, everyone. Let me see here. Freedom Cherry's got something in there. Cedric. Yeah, you know what, Ben? If Trump's family, his lady, was to immigrate right now, she couldn't. Yeah. It's crazy. You're right about that. Ben, you're on mission. Did you believe that what the government was telling you about your mission? Yeah, it's different though, Phoenix. It's different because, we're in an active theater of conflict, and my chain of command wasn't coming from the political side as much. President Bush at the time, when I was in Iraq, definitely set the political objectives, right? But he let the generals fight their war. And so everything seemed to work the way it was supposed to work for tactical operations. I'll just put it that way. So yeah, our intelligence was solid. Everything worked the way it was. It wasn't anything like they're lying to us. No, nothing like that. Okay. But I did know there was some screwy stuff that went on when we would find Iranian elements in Iraq operating against us, and we couldn't do anything about them. Okay. That's no kidding. That's from my experience. I'm not making that up. We had one time, we were targeting in on a cell, and we're getting ready to launch a direct action mission because, I was in one of these night raid units, okay, in Force Recon. And I remember a mission got called off. We were like, why? They said they're members of the Badr Corps, okay? And then when I was my first tour, I was with the Maritime Special Purpose Force with the 11th MEU. And I think that's when the first time I encountered it. And the intelligence officer, the head of the 11th MEU, intelligence officer, great guy, was like, yeah, we can't go after that. We were like, well, why? If they're doing stuff to support, bad stuff. They said, well, they're under Iranian protection. It'll be a big political nightmare. We can't. They weren't shooting at us, but they were providing training, allegedly training and material to attack our people, right? EFP mines that killed a lot of Americans. So that's the only time I would say that was the big time, other than the whole thing being about WMD that wasn't there. Other than that little hiccup, okay? I'm talking Phoenix, just my tactical missions, right? The whole thing was off, and we would joke about it. We're here for WMD. Where's the WMD? We don't see it. All right. But at the very small unit tactical level, for me personally, I saw the real political intrigue and the political restraints coming in with Iranians being there, Iranian agents, and we couldn't target them even though we thought they were insurgents and they were doing bad stuff. Okay. So that was interesting, but no kidding. True story. So, Cedric, I would say one thing. When I lead at work a few times, I feel energized showing them the example, whereas alone, I'm like, oh, man, yeah, exactly. It makes a difference. That means, you're a natural with the leadership. You love doing it. That's good. Set the example. Learn these lessons we're talking about. Because sometimes, guys, I hate to say it, we learn more from the bad ones than we do from the good ones. This is an old leadership axiom, an old saying. You'll learn more from the bad ones than you do the good ones. The good ones, sometimes you don't even realize how good they were until they're gone. All right? I'm just going to say that. So, you're going to see such big leadership lessons from leaders that do bad things. You'll be like, I'm never doing that. Or, oh, I see how bad that is. Wow, I didn't even think that really would happen. I think we have quite a few of those instances happening, right? So, yeah, it was, Cedric. It was really weird. We were like, what do you mean? Like, no, this will be an international incident and it might launch a war with Iran. We can't do it. We're like, what? Well, I don't understand. So crazy stuff. Yep, you have to set the standard. That's right, Lisa. That's right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's fire it up, because it's time to fire it up one more time. Because right now, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share if you're new here. It doesn't cost you anything to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll know when I'm going to go live. Right now, I'm going live 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay? And share with someone you think will get something out of this. Okay? And please subscribe, and you'll see this is, if you want to have more deep dive analysis on executive decision-making, leadership, personal growth, all of this all through the lens of analysis of breaking current events, geopolitical events, breaking news. We deep dive strategy, leadership analysis, decision-making, mindset, all through these current events, okay? Because it's right there in front of us. It's rich with lessons if we just look at it that way. And don't just look at what's going on, but look at the why, the how, the psychology, the mindset, all those things like that, okay? Because, again, the purpose of this podcast and this channel is to upgrade your life. So we're getting ready to go into Act 3 here. About to have a lot of fun. And we're about to fire it the hell up, baby. We're about to fire it up one more time. Let me see here. I think I got some.
Feel the bass go through the floor.
There we go. This is more of a party
now
time.
We're taking it to war. Everybody hear the shout.
All right, everyone, fire it up.
Let the energy come out. Let the energy come
DJ
out.
Ben,
Come
get my
out.
sunglasses.
Come out. Let the energy come out. Come out. Come out. Let the energy
fire it
come
up.
out.
Getting ready for the leadership lessons of South Park. Here we go, baby. Leadership lessons of South Park. Let's rock and roll. Leadership lessons of the absurd is what I'm calling it today, so I don't get demonetized and I don't get a copyright hit. Hopefully you guys are firing it up. Give me a fire symbol in the chat if you're ready for the leadership lessons of South Park. This is the time to share it with your friends. Get them in here. Now let's fire it up. Those of you who've stuck around, you will be richly rewarded right now, because it's about to get interesting. I'm not going to lie to you. It's about to get damn interesting up in here. Getting hot up in here. Here we go. Well, I've got a good one. I've got a good one to start things off. Let me see. Here we go. And in the spirit of things right now, in the spirit of the UFO UAP, here we go. Leadership lessons of South Park. Take it away.
It's the police!
That ain't no police!
When do we get to eat? I'm hungry. Chef!
It's like Bo and Luke Duke, the Duke boys. Duke.
Ha! Goddamn aliens, I beat you! Where'd you learn to drive, aliens? Chinese auto school? You're lucky I didn't just turn around and beat your white skinny alien asses anyway. Maybe next time you remember to... Huh? Oh, crap! Children!
Well, it looks like the boys are in more trouble than a June bug in molasses. It's pretty thick molasses, too.
Hey, put a 1 in the chat if you remember. Give me a 1 in the chat if you remember the Dukes of Hazzard.
It's the police!
If you guys remember the Dukes of Hazzard, give me a 1 in the chat if you remember Dukes of Hazzard. I want to see who remembers the old Dukes of Hazzard days. Give me a 1 in the chat right there. I'm going to play a little more music right now. We're going to fire this up. It's Friday, everybody. Get the friggin' fired up right now, damn it. We're about to kick off this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what we got in here. Tear from the vein, scores. Let's see. Fours in the wreckage. Let's see this one. Oh, this looks a good one. Let's play it.
Turn the lights down low and let the feeling go. Everybody in the crowd, let me hear you shout.
Got a lot of techno stuff here. Let's try this one.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh man, little Van Halen inspired maybe.
Strikes 12, the city's bleeding light.
All right, next one.
Got that restless fire burning.
Put a 1 in the chat if you remember
We
Dukes of
own the
Hazzard.
night. We own the night. We own the night. Yeah.
All right, we're ready to rock and roll. All right, everybody, here we go. Here we go. Did you put the 1 in the chat if you remember the Dukes of Hazzard? I want to see. Who's a Dukes of Hazzard person? Mark, I know you remember it. Frosty remembers good. Lady Ann, New World Com, John, Phoenix, Mark, One, Bo, Luke, Duke, and Daisy. Dang. Lady Ann, Diamond Dog. Yeah. All right. See, I'm hitting new heights. Not just polls, not just asking you for ones. Music. Cheers. As a matter of fact, we're going to get a little cheer in here, too. We're going to go nuts. It's Friday. Why not? What the hell, right? Drum roll, first of all. For the newest one that's coming out right now. Here we go. Our next one. Drum joke. Here we go. We're playing it. All right.
Is this your first time getting probed? Yeah, it's a pain, but this is the kind of stuff you put up with living in a remote little mountain town. At least we don't have to deal with traffic. Hey, you broke free. Kid, you have an incredible control of your asshole. Get me loose too.
Now, if you see that movie Nope, this is what you get for living in a remote mountain town. It's exactly it. It's crazy. Check out that movie Nope. Honestly, it's like terrifying. All right, let's watch the next one. A lot of South Park tonight.
Haha, Mr. Hat yelled at you. Damn, Cartman.
This is straight up just stupid.
Fire. It's the alien anal probe. It's shooting fire from Cartman's rectum. No, that was just a dream.
Eric, do you need to sit in the corner until your flaming gas is under control?
No, Mr. Garrison, I'm fine.
Oh, you want to? This is straight up stupid. Straight up stupid. And yes, we're doing this. We're actually doing straight up stupid. Okay, that's a good one right here. Actual leadership lesson. Maybe, maybe not. Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
I'll see your situation and I'll raise you a situation. Your company is losing clients left and right. You have a stockholder meeting coming up, and you are going to have to explain to them why your most profitable branch is bleeding. So they may be looking for a little change in the CFO. So I don't think I need to wait out Dunder Mifflin. I think I just have to wait out you. I'll see your...
You gotta love some Office. Michael's such a nut. Such a nut. I love it. I love it. All right, on to the next one. On to the next one, guys. Here we go. This one's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I remember this one now. Here we go.
Republicans in here, just know I've been voting blue most of my life, and I fucked up. I fucked up. I know that now. 44. I look back.
Again, you guys know I'm politically independent, so I just find this one funny.
I'm like, why did I do? I grew up in South Carolina, red state. Grew up Republican. Was raised Christian. Could have stayed in that pocket. You know what I mean? And I fucked up. I got older. I developed empathy and compassion. And I didn't do it right. And I just fucking I don't know. I see a homeless person, my heart shatters. And it's like, fuck, I want to be like you guys. You know what I mean? You see a homeless person, like, get the fuck out of my way. Get out of my way, I gotta get to church. Get out of my way. It's your fault. It's your fault. I want to yell stuff like it's your fault. But I never do. If there's any...
Well, I think that's pretty funny. It's your fault. I'm trying to go to church. Oh, my God. All right. Tell me which ones have been your favorite so far, so I know for the future. South Park ones of your favorite with Carbman's gas, The Office, or this one with this comedian here. I don't even know. Rory Scovel. Rory Scovel. Tell me which one's your favorite one. All right. Let's go on to the next one. And listen, this one is funny, but it's also a really good leadership lesson right here. Steve Harvey, actually, very funny guy, but he's not being funny right here, okay? So check out Steve Harvey, what he has to say. It's some good advice for somebody that's working with a toxic boss, okay? And what do you do when you're dealing with a toxic leader? Check this out.
My boss is very challenging, and she's kind of condescending to me. She even accused me of doing things that I didn't do. Mm-hmm. So my question is, I like to be a professional and do things with integrity, but I'm tempted to leave this job because of this boss, but I really need the money.
You got to pick a date, 90 days, 120 days, 60 days, whatever it is. Pick a date that you're going to walk off from this job. You got that much time to prepare another position. That's the date that you're going to walk out. Once you have a date where you know this is going to end, you're able to deal with it a lot better because you see the end coming. Every time she's talking to you, condescending, giving you bad information, accusing you of things you didn't do, you just go, 13 more days. That's the thing about pain and misery. If you always knew the day that pain and misery would end, you could cope with it better.
You know, he's not lying. I will tell you guys one thing, okay? I'll tell you for sure, one of the most difficult things in any of the military training I went through and evolutions I went through was, you know, you didn't know how long the instructors would make you do some really difficult thing. You know, you could be in the ocean. You could be messing around in the surf zone. Like one night we were out in Coronado Island driving the black boats, the little Zodiac boats with the engines in them, the deck plates in them. And I was like, honestly, our hands were falling off. It was so cold. People were wiping out. Boats were flipping over. It was dark out. We had 4 lines of surf. Each line of surf was probably, 4 to 6 foot waves on the, probably on the front end 4 feet, maybe back end 6 feet, maybe big waves. And we didn't know how long it was going to go for. I couldn't believe it. And it was a psychological stress, or other times when they'd make you do push-ups or sit-ups or all this stuff like that. Just as an example, little things. But I always knew at the end of the day, this is going to end eventually because they want to go home. Okay, it's going to have to end. And when you know that, you keep going because strategically, there's got to be an end time to it, all right? So like Steve Harvey's saying there, I think a big important thing is if you're going through a hard time right now, keep going, okay? Set up your milestones for yourself. Set up your goals. Set up, like they'd always talk about when you're running. In the Marine Corps, we talk about when we're going on our physical fitness test. Try to run to the next lamppost. Run to the next telephone pole. That's how you break down the run into smaller segments. If I just got to make it to these next 2 telephone poles, I'm going to go hard and I'm going to slow down. Then you find out you can keep going. Well, I can go for one more telephone pole and go hard. Next thing you know, you finish the whole race that way. Okay, guys? All right, it's been an awesome time tonight. I hope you guys got a lot out of it tonight. I'd love to see, give me a fire symbol in the chat and give me some, some little shout out in the chat. If you got something out of this tonight, if you had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun being here with you guys. We're going to close it out, okay? Remember, leadership is something that you do one decision at a time, right? And perception is reality, unfortunately, in a lot of ways for what we're seeing today. But like I always say, close it out. First of all, one last round of applause for Best Chat on YouTube. One more time for all you guys. You guys are awesome. Have a fantastic weekend. So good to be here with all of you. And we are going to close it out with a little bit of a pump up. Let's go. I'll see you guys all soon. Make yourself better, make your world better. Have an amazing, amazing weekend. And go get yours. Let's go. See you all soon. Pump it up one last time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to work with me, the link is inside my bio. Okay? I'll see you all soon.